Welcome in RebelGrove.com, MPW Digital Postgame Show presented by Realtree Outdoors. With them in a second. Appreciate them all season long. We are here to talk to you about Ole Miss 26, Mississippi State 14. The Bulldogs up 14-10 at the end of the first quarter. Ole Miss shut them out the rest of the way, scored enough to put them away, get another double-digit game. Mississippi State does not play an SEC team to single digits the entire season, finishing 2-10. Ole Miss again 9-3, and they are 4-1 in Lane Kiffin's 5 Egg Bowls. Now they wait. They need complete chaos, frankly, to get to the college football playoff. Else, where we'll see what bowl assignments and stuff looks like here in a week. So Tyler Siskey, Jeffrey Wright already on the horn with me. We'll get going in a second. First, tell you about Realtree. Realtree Camo, proud to support Ole Miss football and all Rebel athletics. Fall is a special time of year, not just for football fans, but also for those who love the outdoors. Whether you're cheering from the stands or gearing up for hunting season, it's all about tradition, family, friends, and unforgettable moments. They bring that same passion, delivering best-in-class camo, including the new all-purpose hunting pattern Realtree APX, Realtree Legacy, some of the popular old-school patterns. Check out Realtree.com. All your camo apparel, lifestyle needs, enter MPW15, 15% off your order. Good day, gentlemen. Kind of running through the stream a little bit. People seem frustrated. People seem a little bit in shock that the regular season is over here. Again, Ole Miss 9-3. By the way, Ole Miss playing basketball right now on FS1. Is that correct on the channel?
Correct.
Right.
56-4.
Okay, 2-point game there. Ole Miss and Purdue and the ladies children's.
I asked my San Diego college classmates if they even knew that a college basketball event was going on in San Diego, and none of them knew.
Not even know that it was going on. Yeah. So that's Ole Miss coming off.
Whoever was at that game are the only people that knew that game was happening yesterday.
Just as a little setup here, we got that on. We got Georgia Tech. Siskey, what kind of pizza are we partaking in as we're getting going?
Thin crust, pepperoni, and banana peppers.
You didn't want to do Thanksgiving leftovers? Did you bring any home from your travels?
Yeah, I'm done. I had did have a kick-ass. You didn't get. I was trying to get your. I was going to get you to get me to get my palate ready to go for the dessert yesterday, and then you didn't respond. I sent you a whole picture of all the desserts, and I ended up going with a Siskey base. I went with a peanut butter Oreo pie.
Well, it didn't sound like it sucks.
Yeah, it was great.
Okay,
it was great.
Jeffrey, are you a day after Thanksgiving food guy, or are we moving on already?
Yeah, no, I love Thanksgiving food. So Aaliyah found Maddie Matheson, the celebrity chef that's on the Bear. He's got like this recipe to basically turn like your leftover turkeys into like a turkey crab cake kind of thing. And so I'm actually going to do that tomorrow. Tonight we're doing a ton of Chinese food. I think we're doing like P.F. Chang's.
Oh, what was worse?
Josephine says hello, everyone.
Hello, Josephine. I see you there.
And,
You're being calm as always.
And my in-laws cut her hair this week, and Leah's not happy.
So, Aaliyah was like a lot of Rebels there early in this game. It wasn't exactly going well for Ole Miss early on, again, losing 14-10 there at the end of the first quarter, 17-14 Rebels at the half. But hey, if you want to just get down to nuts and bolts, guys, I mean, Ole Miss did beat State worse than A&M beat State, worse than Georgia beat State. I mean, I'm just saying here, those were both 10-point games. Ole Miss got them by 12 here, and we can do a ton of micro, a ton of macro.
Hey, they shut them out the last 3 quarters. Let's see, what are some other good talking points? They went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 consecutive drives without giving up a point.
Ole Miss was perfect on red zone opportunities, 2 for 2 here in this game. Walter Nolan, by the way, in all seriousness, had a hell of a game. I know we don't typically do a lot of defense stat stuff, but he blew up the middle of the field all day. He lived on that last side of the line of scrimmage, and he ended up having 3.5 tackles for loss. Led Ole Miss with 8 total tackles there in this one. So again, look, we got plenty of time for postmortems because we have a full week of podcasts we have to get to. So I mean, I have a lot of stuff that I'm not necessarily going to on that from a big picture standpoint as we await what comes next. But Siskey, I guess just leading it off now. Let's do this game in general. the way it played out, the way it kind of went, are you surprised? I mean, I know we all kind of liked that State plus 26 just from what State had done and just sort of in general for this game heading into the day. What went as you expected and what shocked you this afternoon?
Um, I didn't think they were patient enough in the running game. I thought that they could have ran. I mean, I understand. let me retract that. I understand why they're not why they wasn't patient with the running game, but they had way too many looks, and they kind of played into how Mississippi State's game plan. They gave them. Ole Miss was creating extra gaps with the tight ends and 12 personnel, and they were playing a 3 down front with a basically a head up 4, and so which is head up to the tackle. Now sometimes they would like get really crazy, and they were trying to fit the C and D and E gaps out of the back end, out of the top with backers and sages, which is a little unconventional. But if they're going to try to fit, I've always said if they're trying to fit with those guys, on the perimeter, they should have been able to run outside zone till they puke, and they really never even tried it. I guess you could call it outside zone. They pull bow sometimes on outside zone. Automatic check is when the guards are uncovered. They'll pull to the perimeter. I couldn't tell if that was gap scheme without watching the all 22 end zone copy. I couldn't tell if that was the actual gap scheme or they were just pulling the uncovers on outside zone. But regardless, the track of the back was downhill, so it's probably some kind of gap scheme. But they could have ran the football more than they did, and I thought they got a little impatient. I thought really when they were able to hit, in the passing game, it was when State, blitzed and did those things. When State was dropping 8 and playing a spy, they were having a tough time getting to go in the passing game as well. I think they were trying to force Ole Miss to be aggressive, and they wasn't going to be patient. And you know what? It kind of paid off for a long time. I mean, that's kind of what they probably that was probably best case scenario for State in that game to end up kind of where it was at. I thought Ole Miss could have been a little bit more patient in play calling and things like that, and scored a lot more points.
Yeah, one thing there on that, I want to get a quick follow up before we open this thing back up. Is you mentioned almost being more patient in the run game. Be a little more specific there. I mean, Ole Miss runs it 51 times. They only throw it 24. I mean, Dart throws for 143, including a good bit of that late, 14 of 24 for 143. You mean merely just keeping at it a little more, or do you mean more patience and play calling, particularly in the way some of the plays played out? I guess is what I'm saying.
So they could be really like Ole Miss had several run calls tonight that they were in the good and schematics. They had got extra guys, and they've only got a yard or two. Okay. And so instead of sticking with it, it was just a matter of time till they popped one or got a 6 or 7 yard run, 8 yard run, because they had such the advantage in schematics, especially with formationally, and then they got they get away from it and try to throw a pass or whatever or create a negative play, and now they're behind the chains on 3rd down. I think second long in particular probably is what I'm really talking about. More second long calls, got a little aggressive trying to get explosive plays when they didn't need to. They could have got a lot more 3rd and shorts and then just kept the ball longer and moved the ball down the field. I think if Ole Miss schematically had enough schematical advantage to where they could have ran some things and really not had to throw the ball at all. And I mean, they were forced. They basically played right into what Mississippi State wanted them to do, which was get impatient and try to force the ball downfield and get off the field.
Yeah, I'm looking at because I'm with Tyler. I felt like Mississippi State came in with the game plan of we are going to dare Ole Miss, and so Ole Miss's only path out of it was to run the football effectively, or when they had the opportunities to hit some deep shots, like they had to hit deep shots. I never felt like they forced Mississippi State to really get away from their game plan in order to keep themselves in it. So I think though the thing that I found a little odd is when you go through and you kind of really go deep into the box score, they were they were way more effective and efficient than it felt like watching the game. I just felt like watching the game. I was like, man, this is a scrimmage. There's just not a lot of energy. There's not a lot, and I'm not. I mean, what do we expect? I mean, I felt like they played out the same script that we were talking about last Saturday, and it just kind of came out to fruition. But I mean, to me, it's the only thing that kept this game from Ole Miss, I felt like what kept Ole Miss from blowing them out was they never really hit a big deep shot. And if you don't hit a big deep shot, like State played, in my opinion, to keep that game close, and they did. And credit to them. I mean, they got to the fourth quarter with a chance to. It was a one-score game, I think, in the fourth quarter, right? So,
Yeah.
Well, I mean, even when they go into that goal line stand that really iced the game for Ole Miss. If State punches in there, it's stop score. I mean, as you both are saying, that was their best possibility coming to this game because I mean they are a bad football team. God, they're bad.
I mean, that's their 12th straight game in SEC play, losing by double digits.
Is it really?
Yeah. They had 11 straight coming into tonight, and so tonight is 12. It has not happened since I think they said, I think it was like since Vanderbilt in the late 70s.
It is a good point that I mean I thought the crowd as far as bodies in the stands was way better than I was anticipating. But it was
Yeah, I
cold.
totally
The
agree.
wind was awful, and it was not a lot of energy in that in the stadium coming off that. It was which the Egg Bowl always does this. It's always a sleepy environment. Like it's just that's not a shock. Like outside of a couple of those years there, and maybe Siski, maybe you feel differently. I mean, you've coached in this thing multiple times, but
My experience was not sleepy, but you know,
I know the 2014 game was not sleepy.
2012 was not sleepy.
yeah.
Had a brawl in another one and got fired in another one. So no, my experience is not sleepy. No.
2013 was sleepy until Dak came in, because that was a god awful football game.
It was. That's true.
And then when Hugh freaked out when Laramie got hurt, it was like the second quarter. Like Laramie got hurt in like the second quarter, and then Hugh just like completely freaked out and turtled. And remember, like they were playing like they were like on their third team walk-on quarterback. Like it was a horrible football game. And then Mullen looks up in the second half, and they're like, "How the hell are we in this?"
I guess I'm struggling a little bit to not go completely big picture here, even though I feel like that's kind of where we are. Because in some ways, who gives a damn how this thing played out? They are sitting here in a situation where they're 9-3. I don't think any of us would have been shocked by 9-3 at the beginning of the season. Now, the way it played out, it wasn't on our WL bingo card as we went down the deal at all. Siski's getting preoccupied by a basketball game right now as Ole Miss is trying to beat Purdue.
Let me.
In hoops.
Alexandra is asking if 2013 was when Dak shit his pants. No, that was 2015. 2013 is when he. 2013 is when he twirled his pants.
Ooh, Luke, since beating A&M in 2023, Ole Miss has scored more than 30 points against an SEC opponent one time. That's interesting.
Arkansas, right? So it's Arkansas.
Yeah, I guess that would be it.
No, didn't they beat the shit out of Vanderbilt like last year, 2 years ago in Vandy?
When you start asking those questions, I don't know. I have to think about I have to go back and think about it. I don't keep scores in my head like that.
Didn't they?
Was the Vandy game last year? Was the Vandy game last year in Nashville or in Oxford?
Last year was in Oxford. When was what was the stat again?
It was 2 years ago that they beat the shit out of them. That because the game where they scored all the points was in Nashville.
So that was before the A&M game. He says that would have been 2, but the way the question of stat was set up was A&M and forward at that point. So, Jackson Dart today, Jeffrey.
I mean, I'm with Siski. I felt like he was. Like to me, it was a day where you kind of had to check it down, and you were going to have to be like they were not going to give you the deep shots. And I honestly thought there were a couple of times where he kind of got away with one or two. I mean, he breaks Eli's record, but I thought he played fine. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't feel like it was an amazing performance. I didn't feel like he was bad. Like, he didn't turn the ball over. I mean, he ran when he had to. I mean, I thought he was fine. But, like, to me, it's like the way Mississippi State played them was like they were like he was gonna have to be patient. They were gonna have to like take the quote unquote proverbial what they give you, and they did enough. Like you know what I mean?
Yeah, he
I mean,
only got caught. He got
how
caught
many
one
times?
time.
How many times, Tyler, do you think he looked over and saw like, all right, I got a true one-on-one, like, you know, like I felt like the whole time he knew he was going to have everything over the top, but
Yeah, he
it
made
was
some
solid.
good he hurt them when they went 0. He hurt them. He did get caught. I thought he got caught once. Once that I know of, he got caught. They poached the safety over top of 3 vertical, and he's one he almost threw the pick over the middle. But
We were thinking about the same one.
he but he hurt him in 0. And his touchdown to pre-scoring was in 0. He tried the one to right early in the game. He kept getting. They would go 0 some on 3rd down, and they were trying to get the matchup. They had a smaller DB on the tight ends in the slot, and they were trying to get that matchup. He tried to back shoulder one. One was to right. That was, the handsy non-call pass interference deal, and the other one was a touchdown to pre-scoring in the other end zone.
That's a great catch by pre-scoring, by the way.
That was great. It's great. It was a great ball too because he catches it, nobody catches it.
And I also thought he threw a pretty good ball to Juice Wells, but I'm of the opinion if Juice Wells is out there, I don't care if it's a one-on-one. I'm not throwing him the ball. Like it's just, it's not.
He does the thing that Brian Kelly was yelling at his wide receiver out. He jumps on every single catch. He jumps every time.
I will give him credit. He did put 2 hands up on the ball tonight. Like I'm so sick of watching.
Hey
that
Tyler,
guy.
you coach wide receivers at the college level. Can you give me a quick eval of Juice in his season, please?
Nope. I didn't pay for it, so I don't have to eval it.
Well, I'm just asking. Your position as analyst here at MPW Digital. I'm curious what you thought about his season.
Probably should have had that one today there, Chaser.
What about the 3?
Not compared to the one at Florida, Tyler. That was even more so.
Pretty pedestrian. Pedestrian. Yeah.
Is there a way that you could use him effectively at the college level?
You know what they call wide receivers that can't catch?
Safeties.
DBs.
Okay.
I can't help you, boss. That one was pretty pedestrian today. I don't.
As opposed to the other days.
that was pretty good spot.
I mean, in all seriousness, like he's showing you that, like sometimes it's just the miss of all misses in the portal era. Like it just, I mean, it's been rough. Like it's been really, really, really bad.
He has been a lot more explosive in the past than he has been this year. He hasn't even looked explosive.
I don't think he's healthy as far as his past peak. Personally,
I don't know. That very well could be it, right? And but he definitely, whatever it is, he's definitely not as explosive as
like I am willing to grant him that. With that being said, man, I'm just not sure I would have kept trotting him out week after week after.
Yeah, week. I mean, guys, in all seriousness, and I mean this like not laughing, not making fun, not anything. His legs are 2 different sizes from that injury. Like his injured leg is significantly smaller with atrophy than the other one. It's a rough situation. I mean, I feel for all the things. Look, Ole Miss is trotting him out there, and he's got to catch the balls because he's in position and he's on the field. It's been a tough thing to watch throughout the season because of what he looks like compared to his former self. Let me get to a few of these super chats real quick. Sammy, thanks to you as always. You're hanging out with us every day. Program cannot continue with Weiss and/or Smith. Weiss and Simmons in 2025 has disaster and coaching changes written all over it. Safe holidays. Sammy, thanks as always. PTG Brandon, you're going full on out with us. LFG, Died Millers to all. There with yours, another one, big fan of finding a new OC, and then sends a third big super chat there from our boy PTG Brandon saying just to get Cisco to change hats. Also, Andre, appreciate you. You're here, good bet. Siski in the run game. Did Ole Miss have a call for when they were pulling the uncovered that they would flip it between the guard and the center if either or was covered, got off some strange money and bought a Traeger today. So Andre went the Traeger out today with his purchase.
Yeah,
I love my record. the same
On
thing.
outside zone, we would versus odd fronts and outside zone, we would pull uncovered. So it's not really a call. I mean, it's kind of base, but I don't. Again, they didn't have the run path is outside zone. They were downhill. So I don't know if it was gap scheme or if it was they were just pulling the uncovers. I would have to go back and watch.
When you say pull on coverage, are you talking like fold blocking?
No, so like let's say it's a 0 nose and two head up fours, you'd pull both guards. If there was 2 twos, you'd pull the center.
But I mean, how much are you pulling on zone?
On outside zone, we pull the outside. I mean, you don't a lot. You do it versus odd front. When you're trying to fit the alley with out of top, you do.
I do want to give credit. I thought Walter Nolan today. I mean, I felt like one of the questions for that guy was going to be what was his motivation all year. And man, I just don't remember many games where I thought, "Man, that guy's just milking it." Like
no, he has shown up 12 damn times.
Yeah, I mean, and guy played his ass.
Hey, can we give a tip of the cap for earning your check? That a baby.
Yes, he. If we want to talk about value, like getting what you paid for, if one end is Juice Wells, the other end is Walter.
Let me tell you something. Walter Nolan,
every freaking penny.
You should give him a bonus. To be honest, he probably deserves a little bit more than what he got. Just to be honest, because I'm kind of
he's affected every damn game he's played in, and dude has shown up 12 times. He played hurt. He's come back in. I mean, I have no idea what he's done between the lines, but between the lines, dude has been a freak. And he's up the draft stock. He's gotten paid. He's made the penny. I mean, in all honesty, for the most part, they've gotten good effort out of their top end portal guys from an effort standpoint. Like they haven't had the fold deal where, today again, they were sort of out of the race for the most part. I mean, I know mathematically and stuff it could happen and all that, but guys still showed up. I mean, I thought the effort was pretty good today. They just ran. I mean, it was just a weird game, and they have such a fundamental issue running the football that it affects everything they do offensively. Because, look, it is the one caveat as we get into this. State is horrific at run defense. They are awful. And they were begging you to run, and you still ended up in the spot you were in today with the run game being what it was. Again, 89-yarder for Ulysses. I mean, I'll open the floor up for Siski to talk about how he was incredibly wrong on Bentley over the course of the season, and he now has the only two 100-yard games on the year, has now the 2 longest rushes. I mean,
can we also agree that was the least impressive 254-yard rushing performance I've ever seen? Like, if it's possible to have 254 yards on the ground on 51 carries and be unimpressive, tonight was it.
It sort of shocked me when I saw the total number. Now, it helped because they did run it 51 times. I mean, it makes a huge difference. But, yeah, that kind of did sort of blow me away. I know they don't have an elite back, obviously. We've talked about that all year. Where are they with an offensive line, though, Siski? And are we still at the point where it's hard to go completely portal that because of the continuity needed? I mean, like, what if you're in the room, what's Ole Miss's sort of offensive line to-do list for 2025?
They just got to go get guys. I thought they were big. I thought they had the size, right? They were big, but they were not very athletic. They can't move their feet. They pad levels high. That's why they can't run block. And, everybody wants to blame this on the running backs. It don't matter who the hell you got back there. I mean, they don't move anybody. As big as they are, they're not moving anybody. Their pad level's high. They're unathletic. 57, tried to move his feet for 3 seconds today, but besides the holding calls that he didn't move his feet. He tried to move his feet on a run play and got freaking just dick slapped across the face and knocked backwards. He can't. He plays too high.
Did you have to wipe away a tear though just to see one more holding call for 57? One last one.
Dog. I'm like, come on. Like, he just can't. He can't move his feet, and they're big. They're huge. They can't move, and so they need to be running gap scheme. They just gave up on it. They need to be running gap scheme. They get as big as they are. They should be running gap scheme, and they can't run outside zone because the guys can't move. You can't run gap scheme because they can't move. So you just got to bury your head in the sand and run duo straight ahead, and then that's just creating a big ass pile of shit for people to try to run through. I mean, it's nowhere. Go back and watch Lane his first 4 years here and look at the run scheme compared to this year. Go back and watch Ole Miss run game 4 years prior to this year, and it takes you about 5 minutes to figure out what the difference is. Nobody's pulling, nobody's moving. There's no gap scheme, and they very, very, very limited when they do it. They do it like twice a game, and that's what they need to be doing with these guys. But they can't move anybody because their pad level's high. They're lethargic. They're not very explosive.
Well, I feel like because of that, they're also their passing game. Like they're used to having, if you can run it, everything's play action. You suck up all the backers, and that's when you get those guys wide open. And like, in fairness to Jackson today, when we're talking about the passing game, it's not like I sat there and said, "Oh, he's missing guys wide open." It's like, well, I mean, Mississippi State didn't really have to honor anything.
No. So, but no, I think it needs to be a complete retooling, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm seeing the stream here, and I'm not avoiding the Bentley thing. It's that State is so much worse in run defense than Florida. Relatively, I thought it was the same game. Like
Yeah,
I don't.
I saw someone going, it's way better than Florida. It's like, yes, you went up against a good run defense last week, and you went up against a horrific. I mean, let's be real. That's not an SEC football team. And think about it this way. I said it on the radio show this week. If you put Mississippi State aside, who goes 0-8 in the league, every team in the SEC beat someone in the top half of the league. You had Oklahoma beating Bama, Auburn beating A&M. You've had Kentucky beat Ole Miss. I mean, every other team, but it's like State is not part of the league. Like it is, that's a bad football team.
Is pad level at all RPO related or just bad pad level related?
Well, they don't know it's a pass. It's they get told to run. So it's just they've had bad pad level the whole year. They just don't move anybody. I mean, at the end of the day, they don't move anybody. Like the line of scrimmage does not move. It's a bunch of stalemates. So I mean, look, it's going to get better because it's got to change because everybody's leaving. So I don't even know. I mean, so it can't get any worse.
Hit that.
Yeah,
I'm having a hard time not turning this into a basketball watch along as it gets into the last like 5.5 minutes.
Well, I'm probably, I don't know where you're at in the clock. I'm feeling
you're ahead of me probably. I'm at 6:22.
No, I'm behind you, boss.
Okay.
No, I am. I'm at 6:22.
Yeah, I'm at 6:22. Do
Is
you have this on, Jeffrey?
I do. Well, I've got it on a whatever, the quad box.
Yeah, Ole Miss currently playing Purdue in the final of that tournament out in San Diego. If they had a way to hold on, it would be a hell of a win. Ole Miss currently up 70-65 with Purdue shooting free throws 70-66 now. 6:22 left in the second half.
Well, they tried to think real quick while I'm thinking about this. You know, they try to do some things on the perimeter last 2 weeks, but they're not even blocking on the perimeter. So you can't run the perimeter run game if your freaking guys on the perimeter aren't blocking either. Like there's just nobody. Like if you got receivers that can freaking block or tight end or however you split them out there, you can do some stuff on the run game. I mean, ask me how I know. I was part of a staff that had the worst offensive line in the history of the NCAA, and we ran for 220 yards a game in the SEC. And the entire season, we had 39 explosive runs in 2012. We had 39 explosive runs. 38 of them were outside the tackle box.
Receivers blocking downfield, baby.
38 of them were outside the tackle box. We ran for 220 a game in the league. And the only run that we broke that was an explosive run that was in between the tackles was in the freaking BBVA Compass Bowl, baby. The sold-out Legion Field. Aaron Donald was sucking wind because they never subbed not one time the entire game. We went tempo, and freaking Itavius Mathers hit a power up the shitter for about 70. That was the only run we had all year.
Didn't Bo have a run against LSU that was inside the tackles?
Like a pull. It was a pull.
Got it.
That's what I'm saying. Every single run we had was outside the tackle box the entire year. The explosive run. You know, and so, you know, that was because we were very similar. Well, just the opposite. They're trying to hammer everything inside, and then when they try to go on the edge, like they tried to go on the edge today, it was like running through a tin horn out there. Nobody was touching anybody because, and that's a product of being an RPO team. I'm going to be honest with you. That's a product of being an RPO team because they don't practice blocking anymore because every damn run play they're running a pass route instead of stop blocking or push cracking. They don't know how to block.
Yeah, that is. I mean, Dart was their most effective runner all season. This is just the way that works, even though he didn't do a ton of it. A huge three there for Rebels. They are now up 75-68, 5:15 to go there against
last week
Purdue.
aside,
Because you got a bonus number, though, Chase. That's why. Because you got a bonus number.
Yeah, you got
right?
You get
and
plus
you're
one.
If they roll
also,
it out of the box, good.
Don't you have to say that the most effective runner last week aside, though, was Liggins? Which kind of goes like the fact
look,
that
it's the point of this whole thing is whatever you think Bentley is or isn't, or do you think he's their best option or not his best option or average or good or suboptimal or whatever the hell it is. Fact of the matter is you shouldn't have a situation where you're choosing to run the ball between a backup wide receiver and a defensive tackle. Exactly. That is a coaching roster issue, no matter what it is about one other guy that you were having at that point. I mean, there's no doubt about that. Because I mean, I'll be honest, I was kind of talking to myself, and I was kind of talking to Neil. I wasn't sure that Lane was not trolling the entire fan base to start the game. I mean, they go under center with a handoff to Davis at least once, maybe twice. They open up with him 4 or 5 times there in the first whatever play, including up the middle. I mean, if you think Micah Davis up the middle has no chance in hell of working. So it's the part of this that even when you're looking at it, trying to be objective in any way, that setup, there's no logic. Look, I get I don't know enough football here, but there's no logical setup to me that makes sense in that way. It is. I mean, it feels like coaching malpractice.
Like it just does. My whole thing is like I can totally understand. Like if you've come together as a staff and you believe that Bentley is not your best running back and that you're going to play your best running backs, like that's fine. You cannot convince me that once you got to the point with the injuries where everybody's getting injured, you cannot convince me the guy that you paid to keep on your team as a running back is not your best option. Like that's like, I'm sorry. Like Tyler, you can say like that's being a prick or whatnot, but it's like, he's literally a running back. You were putting other people at running back that have never played running back this year. It's like that is bizarre to me.
Got nothing for you, boss.
Okay, let me ask it this way then, Siski. What would be the schematic advantages of opening the game with Davis 4 or 5 times, including some inside stuff from under center?
Got nothing for you, boss.
Give them a look. Give them what they weren't ready for.
I mean,
got nothing for you, boss. I'm still trying to figure out why they haven't run outside zone and 12 personnel.
So, do you think there was a chance he was trolling the fan base?
With Lane, do I think there was a chance?
Yeah.
Hell yeah. I mean, do you not? I mean, we talking about the same. We talking about the head coach of the Ole Miss Rebels, Lane. Talking about Lane Kiffin.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. There's not a doubt in my mind. Not a doubt in my mind.
Yeah, Purdue is going on a run here, and if nothing else, this is going to be a learning experience for Ole Miss. They're getting some quality basketball and some minutes against a really good team. They're kind of knocking it all over the place right now, but there is no bad loss in this moment, just a missed opportunity potentially.
Chase, they're not losses; they're lessons.
Yes, that is correct. That is where they are. I mean, no, I'm serious. I mean, in my mind, I think it was a troll job, and he thought, hey, I'm going to win the game anyway, so if we blow a series right here and only kick 3 instead of 7, I mean, what the hell difference does it make? It's not going to cost the game.
I will say there was a thought amongst coaches this year that Mississippi State's not a real football team, not a real SEC team, so everyone just kind of didn't treat them seriously. And so, yeah, I can totally buy that.
This game is on FS1. Purdue up 76-75 with 3 and change to go, maybe. Something like that.
I know we're not Tyler, speaking of bad receiver rooms, I'm not saying that that Beck doesn't make mistakes. He clearly does. But I still don't think those Georgia receivers help him.
Well, all the good ones are at the Clark County Sheriff's Department.
That's fair. Well, didn't they get one back?
I don't think he's playing. I haven't seen him yet.
Practicing, but he could be back next week.
He'll be back for the playoffs.
He could be. Yeah.
He'll be
All
back
right,
for the
sorry. Back to Ole Miss.
No, you're fine. No.
Whatever
They've had
this
a-
game.
They've had a. I was watching a basketball game. I guess I missed a drop because I looked over and I got 4 seconds talking about somebody dropping the ball.
It was 3rd and 3, and Beck throws a pretty good slant, and just bang. Like just these good old fashioned brick hands where the ball just bounces so hard off of him.
How do you guys grade the offense on the season?
Whoo.
I'm having a hard time giving them any more than like a C plus, and that's a really. I mean, it's a weird stat considering their quarterback just broke like school records and shit, and came into the day 3rd in the country in passing yards.
Yeah, but how much of their big numbers came from the first 4
games? A ton.
Yeah.
Yes.
But you do have to give
the Arkansas game. The Arkansas game, he had 580, something like that.
Yes.
You got to give him some credit now because to be able to do anything on offense with literally not being a threat ever to run the football was pretty damn. I mean, like it's borderline. Yeah. It's borderline miracle. I don't know how I still don't know how they get an explosive play in the passing game with being no threat to run the football. Like there's no RPO honoring, yet they still run RPOs and still complete them. Like I don't even know how that's possible. Like they're
so depending on how you want to look at it, it's their personnel is a huge problem and they've got to fix it. You can downgrade them, but if you talk about straight execution based off what they have on the field, you're giving them a very high grade.
I would give them a very high grade in the passing game for sure. Like it's a miracle. It's a miracle that they could even be open. And because there's zero threat. They're a one-dimensional football team.
Yeah, I was thinking
they've been a one-dimensional team for how long? Since conference play, they've been a one-dimensional team. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's fair.
Kentucky since the kickoff of the Kentucky game.
Like I think it threw them out of whack today because they were able to run the football because they were just going to play. They played 3 high safeties, 3 down, and like a guy short in a box, and they didn't know how to like what do I do with my hands? They were like Ricky Bobby. What do I do with my hands? They didn't know what to do when they were given advantages in the running game. But look, you got to give them. I think they did from an offensive standpoint at all, executing at all. In the passing game was pretty impressive, but running, I mean, however you grade that, running game was abysmal. Offensive line in general was abysmal for a full year of product.
So are you giving Dart then an incredibly high grade on his performance for the year because of that?
Yeah, I think 2 played well. I think 11 played well. 9 played well when he was healthy. 8 played really well. I thought he had a good year.
He had a huge year. He's back too. That's a huge win for Ole Miss next year.
Yeah, he had a good year. And that's probably where I leave it.
I'm going B- simply because, like, at the end of the day, they did go 5-3 in league play. Like you know what I mean? Like you can't say that like they were bad, but I think the difference this year is without the real threat of the run, you just weren't going to have like the easy scheme it up plays. Like look in the red zone. And we talked about it. If you can't run the ball, like you're going to be bad in the red zone. And if you can't run the ball, a lot of your stuff isn't going to work. And so they weren't able to get the freebies. And, in the end, they went 9-3. But the reason why they went 9-3 to me is because they weren't as good as normal on offense.
Yeah, somebody said in the chat, 19 play had a great year.
Yeah, he did.
I left him out. That was my bad. But yeah, he had a great year. Did I miss anybody?
Yeah. I mean, Trey, until he got hurt, had a good year.
Yeah, I said him until he got hurt. I was trying to think. I don't know.
I do feel like it took them longer. I felt like once Trey Harris got hurt, it took them longer than probably I expected to adjust to life without Trey, because it felt like for a while that, all right, everybody's kind of move up a spot in the rotation, and we're just going to keep running the same stuff. But to Tyler's point, I mean, how much of it is, man, stuff just doesn't work when stuff doesn't work when you can't run the ball, and then you're trying to, you can't scheme up the easy one-on-ones, and then your receivers usually have two safeties over the top, so it's tough to get open, and it's tough to have like big explosive plays that kind of define this offense, which is, they're very dependent on explosives to score.
Yeah, you can't. It's hard to run play action protection when you have no threat to run the football.
Nobody cares.
And they mesh it about 50% of the time on pass plays.
Yeah.
I get that but the offense put them in a couple critical spots that lost games or at least affected all the fourth downs in those two games. But it's impossible to give the defense anything worse than like B plus, right?
Oh, defense is A for me.
Yeah, it's an A.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't think the defense is the reason they lost the game.
I don't think they. I'm trying to think. I can't think of a single game where I was like, hey, defense didn't do their job. Even last week when they lost to Florida, I mean, dude, if you give up 24 points in an SEC game, you got to win the damn game. I mean, 24 points is kind of like shit. I've been on teams, I'd be praying for giving up 24 points.
Yeah, and the LSU game wasn't there. I mean, I know Lane points out that they didn't make the sack, but it's like, good God, man! Like that, your defense was the only.
They got plays, right? They had plays here and there. Like even last week against Florida, they missed some sacks. That they missed. I know 4 missed a sack last week that would have got them off the field. They scored it. They ended up scoring on. But yeah, they missed tackle here and there. They didn't tackle well last week, but like, as a whole, you got to give them an A. I mean, I thought they spent wisely. 11's a baller. 2, 38, 15. 4. I mean, I thought they played well all year. 9. I mean, I can go on and on. They had a couple spots like, which was interesting today. They got a couple weaknesses now. You just never could take advantage of them because you don't have time to hold on to the ball. They had a little time to throw today. That was unusual.
They did.
Yeah, I did. I
don't know what happened, but when you let the guys, they were this first time. Hell, they probably haven't seen a go route run on them in 11 weeks. They didn't know how to respond. I don't know. They were like late in their turn and everything else. They were blown by. No diddy.
Yeah.
Well, and some of it, when they play more mobile quarterbacks, sometimes they just kind of put their head up and get upfield. There's not a lot of vision on it, and they run all over the place back there even when they get some pressure. Yeah, Daugherty and Paul. I mean, I expect Daugherty back. Paul has a year left, but I don't know what he's going to do.
Yeah, 11's a dude. 11's a guy.
I mean, I do think there's a legitimate question though of like, hey man, how do you replace this? Because we've only seen one good defense under Lane, and there's part of the reason why this defense is good is pretty much all going to be gone. Because that front, holy hell!
I mean, look, being serious, there's 22 starters. How many of them are gone?
I mean, most. Hold on. I mean, this is worth it real quick. Let's figure it out.
Or how many are playing in the bowl game?
Hey, but they're not out of the playoff race yet, Siski.
I mean, can we agree? Like, I mean, I'm the one that pointed out, like, there's still a path. Like, you need a lot of bad things to happen. But man, can we agree this doesn't look like a playoff team?
Auburn's got to win to start with. That'll be the first one. Auburn needs to win tomorrow.
Auburn needs to win. SC,
and you need Southern Cal to win and Notre Dame actually fall below you, which I don't know would happen anyway.
That's a long way. I don't know if they're going to take 14 and replace 5 and 14. That's both dropping one game. So I think I boiled it down pretty good. I think now the SEC's got 3 spots. They lost a spot. The ACC has picked up a spot. So either the Big Ten has to lose a spot, or the ACC has to lose one of their spots that they gained. And then you got it. So it's either like an Indiana getting upset by Purdue or something like that, and then where they lose a spot, and then then Auburn has to beat Alabama, so you're the next up SEC team.
Yeah,
all right. John Saunders is gone.
Or you could have Sankey just politic his way to making sure the ACC only gets one team,
which is still possible.
Absolutely. I mean, in the end, like, I'm not ruling that out.
All right, John Saunders is gone. Jared Ivey's gone. Nolan's gone. Amos is gone. Kennedy can come back, I'm pretty sure. I
Okay.
think. I'd have to look, but I think so. Perkins is back. Trey Washington's gone. Pegues is gone. They got other safeties who are back, depending on which one they pick out of the spot that Yam Banks got hurt last week and whatever they're doing there. Chris Paul can come back and Daughtery can come back. That's their defense.
All right, so possibly 8 offense.
And then real quick on that, obviously they get a lot of snaps. They've got Xavion Harris back for next year, and then they've got Jamarius Brown back, who I do.
By the way,
like
that was a hell of a screen he set on Van Buren on the sideline.
It was a perfect screen.
Yeah, that's how you teach it, buddy.
He was just protecting himself, Jeffrey.
Correct.
Yes, he was just. You okay?
Hey,
Cole?
game. That was a nice play.
I can't believe they didn't call that foul, though.
Okay, Jackson Dart is gone. Micah Pettis has eligibility left, but I believe he's either. I think he's transferring. My guess is Pettis goes elsewhere. Caden Lee is back. I'm not 100% sure on Diego Pounds. I will have to look that up. I mean, Watkins is gone. The other wide receiver spot technically is back, but they're going to go get somebody. That's not going to be a spot from any returner at that point. Daquan Wright is back.
Hang on, my wife's my dog. Hang on.
Okay, yeah, you're good. 2 Washington kids are gone. McIntyre is gone. And Jerquan Scott is gone, I think.
All right, so you got 16 spots to replace.
Okay.
Good time for revenue share, boss.
But, I mean, how's that going to work, dude? I mean, that's what we've been talking about. I mean, is that –
Well, I don't know. What I am curious about, I still haven't got a straight answer, and I've asked multiple people, is we all understand that revenue share is coming in July. April. Some people say April, some people say July, whatever, right? Next fiscal year. What happens between now and July? Where does that money come from?
That is my point I was asking you, was that you have to either assume the liabilities that would be required to go ahead and do rev share, or you've got to have the money in hand in your mind and work off this payroll until you get to August and hope nothing blows up.
See, what happened is I carried the one and the shit didn't add up. I'm still trying to figure that out myself. I'm like, so see what happened is you get the money in July, but what happens between now and July? I've asked 1,000
But
times.
dude, it's why it's been so critical, and I mean it's why I asked Keith, and I was being serious, is that you've got some schools in the league, LSU, Missouri, South Carolina, where their foundations are already funding their NILs. They wrote it in the legislation and said basically, hey, they're doing that third-party marketing thing where they're allowing you to pay the collectives for the whatever the crap that is, but it's legal money laundering is what it is. And they've allowed that to happen.
Like a mattress store, just like one of those mattress stores.
Yeah. And Ole Miss didn't go that far. They gave some, but they didn't go fund it the way to Missouri, South Carolina, LSU is. The reason I'm critical of that, and I think I'm valid in this, is, I mean, it makes you half pregnant. You've given some money, because if the NCAA has a big problem with it and starts cracking down, which I don't believe they will, well, then you have given money. You're just as guilty as the school that gave $10 million or $15 million. But you didn't do enough to actually fund the process to get you to that point. And to me, that's a problem.
Yeah,
just saying.
I've asked the question like 4 different or 5 different of my buddies, and I've gotten this answer right here. I've gotten this one. I've gotten who's on third. I mean, nobody knows.
So if you were at the head of a collective, Siski, would you just ball out and hope the house settlement saves you in July and worry about that tomorrow?
Hell yeah! I mean, shit, spend it like you got it. I mean, what's the alternative? What's the alternative? Portal opens a week. I mean, what's the alternative? Portal opens a week. You're not going to have an answer. Spend that shit like you got it, and then get you a team, and then you got to force them to transfer twice. And there's no 25. All right, so there's no 25 initial. Your boy, I'd be rolling deep in that. I'd be like Pablo Escobar in that thing. I'll be spinning it like I got it. I'd be finding money in the wherever we had to find it. Get me to the July. Get me to the July. What do we have to do to get to July?
What happened for them to lose this basketball game?
A miss. It was like a miss, and the guy hits the kind of like the follow up.
Oh,
they made him take a tough shot, but just didn't rebound.
Brakefield was under the basket, and he decided to front box a dude out and just.
Oh, that is incredibly brutal. So Purdue wins at 80-78.
Is it over? I'm going to have 6.6 seconds left on the clock. Yeah. You've already
okay. No, I'm not saying the game's over, but like you can't with whatever. There's going to be like 0.7 of a second, and they've got the ball underneath the basket. Like,
oh, that's good for like 3 dribbles and a hook shot.
Although I will say, who's the white kid with the headband?
Padula.
His 90-footer yesterday that almost went in.
It got close.
That was online.
Yeah, it was kind of bad luck there. But, I mean, look, Ole Miss, they get the win over BYU yesterday, get a nice win, and then you play Purdue to that today. There's no harm in your resume headed back home.
Oh, they beat the shit out of Alabama, but it was at home.
Oh, Purdue?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was in I was up in
that place?
West Lafayette.
West Lafayette.
Or West Lafayette, as we'd say.
It's one thing, too. I mean, we're talking about NIL. We're talking about kind of where Ole Miss goes from here. And, I mean, I get that you can call it what you want to call it. You can call it a failure if you want. You can call it a disappointment if you want. You can do all those things. But assuming that chaos that we're talking about doesn't happen, they finished 9-3. That is at least 9 wins in 3 of the last 4 seasons. Or the 4 full seasons under Lane. The other was an 8-win season. So at this moment, they have gone 10, 8, 10, 9 in the regular season the last 4 years. That would have been in the playoffs in 23. I don't have the rankings up in front of me, but that would have been some level of close to the playoffs or in the playoffs in 21 at 10-2 because there's no really way around that. It had to be close. In 2022, they had the stupid year and they had the Arkansas game and all the Auburn stuff, and they kind of fold there after the Alabama loss. They go end up 8-5, but 8-4 in the regular season. So it's on a track here. You've got the house thing. You're going to have somebody in the NIL. They kind of know what their system is, and the portal is going to bring these volatility in it for everybody. Where your 1 year is completely different than the next. You don't know what your culture is. You don't know what your chemistry is. I still maintain that while there's no guarantee you're getting anywhere with this process, it's the only damn way to get there. I'm seeing a lot of stuff on the message board, and I think my one bit of advice for the fan base here is quit throwing the damn baby out with the bathwater and just kind of stick to your deal and see where you are next year. I mean, you can have a 9-3 year, and it doesn't mean your plan is bad. It just means you have to do the plan again. There's just no guarantees here.
Yeah, I mean, the revenue share is going to fix a lot of it because
But it's fixing it for everybody, though.
No, they're just doing that. Here's why I am interested in this. Why I was talking about that a minute ago. The call that I made, and we were talking about, I kept asking buddies while I was driving this week, is, all right, so revenue share is coming. It should allow teams to keep the guys that they want to keep. But when does that money start, right? So that was my whole thing is like, okay, you can go out like there should be no worry of Mississippi State keeping Van Buren or not. There should be no worry of that, right? So it goes to, but but check, when does that start? Is my whole thing is like, okay, like, does it start now? Or where are we getting this money? Are we robbing Peter to pay Paul? What are we doing? Because where they're going to have money, and I think it's going to really, and this is the interesting thing with me about the Ole Miss rebuild, right? We know they got to hit the portal. We just named 16 guys. Well, if all of a sudden Walter Nolan's not in the portal anymore because now revenue share is kicked in and they can pay to keep him. If Princely's not in the portal anymore because now Florida can pay to keep him. If Etienne's not in the portal for Georgia anymore because now Florida can afford to keep him. If all these guys that have been leaving, and I'm not talking about I'm not talking about like South Alabama or whatever. I'm talking about SEC to SEC, Big Ten, these schools that I don't think they're going to be able to. I think they're going to be able to keep the rosters, the guys that they want to keep, if they want to keep them. And hell, they can basically drive the price up on their opponent if they're going to lose a guy. But I think the numbers are going to be to where you're not going to lose guys over 50 grand anymore. So I'm kind of curious to how that. I'm curious to how if you can really once revenue sharing hits, whether it's now, Chase, or it's next year in July. Okay, whenever we decide that the
Yeah,
money
whatever.
hits, I'm actually genuinely curious if you can actually build a roster anymore out of the portal.
Yeah, I'm 100% with Siski because now it seems to me most of the kids that are in the portal, and we haven't even hit the rev sheet pick, but there's been a commitment from schools to keep the guys they want to keep. It just seems to me now that you got more and more kids that are in the portal that are kind of in there for a reason.
Because if they want to keep them, they're going to have the money. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like,
I'm
So
totally
a kid leaving is leaving because he, by God, doesn't want to go, wants to go, or by God, they want him to go, one or the other.
I would think so, but again, now it depends on when does this money hit, right? Like we may have another window, we may
Well, we have
not.
one more. No, we are, because not enough schools are going to be going straight house right now. I mean, the portal opens in 10 days, 11
That's what I'm
days.
saying. That was one of my questions when I was calling. That was my questions. I was like, wait a minute, because I know a lot of these deals that are getting done are like backloaded when revenue share hits, right? And like the kid at Michigan, and you're sitting here and you're like, okay, do they have the money to keep them now, or are we gonna have another window to where you can go load up? I don't know.
Yeah, and
Well,
honestly,
I don't.
I guess Tyler would know better than I would, but it's almost like I'm making the assumption part of Lane's uh, newfound emphasis on high school recruiting. It feels to me like, hey, we might be getting back to a world where you are going to have to do it at the high school level. I mean, obviously, to me, the best teams are the most complete rosters are the ones that have the high school recruiting, and then they supplement what they don't have with the portal. But Ole Miss has not really operated that way. But it does feel like there's a greater emphasis this year for Ole Miss on high school recruiting.
And I think some of that's just Lane acting more stable in the job.
Yeah, I think he made that transition before he would have known that. I think he's been doing that for whatever Perkins in their class was, is kind of where he started it.
I think that was 2 years ago, right?
And then I'm still trying to figure out, I'm about to start my own damn strike, since everybody's swinging on Bentley's nuts on the board. I'm about to start my own Aiden Williams strike. I'm trying to figure out why in the hell I'm going to start cussing everybody out by not playing Aiden Williams. That's what I'm going to start doing.
You think he should be playing more?
Well, I don't
know why. He's good enough. He's good enough.
He always flashes in 101s in camp, to the point we've had to shut up talking about him because he stands out every day. Just help anybody out, by the way. If Tech keeps this up and makes this a game or wins, Georgia still has to lose again next week for it to matter, because they're already in the SEC title game. So you would need back-to-back losses by the Bulldogs to pass them.
Looking good for my guy. Looking good for my guy over there, Mr. Jeffrey Wright, starting to feel good about his little 17 points.
No, not yet. Because that's the other thing about Georgia. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, you get to the second half. I need Georgia Tech to probably score, 17 points?
Yeah. Oh. No, I don't know if you need that many.
I mean, we're in the second quarter already.
Yeah.
Here's the deal, though, to that. I mean, guys, it's the one thing we still don't know, and Ole Miss is a great example of this, is when you go portal heavy for every class like this, you don't know what the freaking team is going to look like. You don't know what kind of culture you're going to have. I mean, you're just throwing a bunch of guys in there. You hope you're making better decisions, or you hope you're making better decisions than other ones. But look at what Ole Miss has done. In 21, it was a pretty senior-laden kind of group that's been together for a while, from your era into Lane's era. I mean, that was Matt Corral and Williams and those guys, and they sort of kept it up. In 22, that was a head case team that Lane never even complimented, frankly. I mean, he said the entire time he didn't really like them. Their portal guys didn't stick together. They fell apart there at the end. in 23, he really liked that group. They won every one possession game. They were in stuff. They made the most of their opportunities. And then you look at this year, we just covered an Ole Miss team that went 9-3 and lost every one possession game. They went 0-3 in one possession games and 9-0 and everything else. So they
So
did.
he likes the teams that win a lot. Is that what you're saying?
It's not the point. My point is even when that
I think
22 team,
I think he likes the teams that maximize their potential.
even
I
when
like
that team
the
was
ones
8-1 in
I like the
2022, he
ones
never
that
talked about them really being tough or sticking together or anything along that crap line. That's what I'm saying.
I like the ones that win and don't lose. I like those guys, and I like call only the plays that work. Just call the
You
plays that
know what
work.
the hell I'm saying. My point is, it's a freaking crapshoot, and at some point, this is what Brian was talking about last week. At some point, this team was front runners. Because there is a difference too. Now, look, was it the most talented team in Ole Miss in a really long time in the modern era? Yes. That doesn't make them the best team or the team most likely to win close games. Those are two different things. So you're either blaming some combination of coaching decisions, players in crunch time, and or whatever. They laid two significant eggs against Kentucky and Florida. That was bad football for two games.
They did it today too. They play very tight when it's close.
Yes.
They did today
tight,
too.
tight booty holes. You can feel it.
They played tight today too. Now, like they play tight, but
And
like
I hate to say it because I'm not blaming him for this year, but I kind of think Jackson's a really tough guy, and he can play quarterback for me. There's a lot more examples of when the going gets tough and the game gets tight that he gets tight, or he presses, or he tries to get it all back, and I think that might be the difference.
I'm just having a hard time grading him because he has no run game. Like he just has
No,
nothing.
and I don't want to put that's the other thing. It's like I don't feel like any of their three losses. I don't look and point and go, he's the reason they lost. But I also don't look and say, he could have flipped every one of those games at some point. And again, he is not truly responsible, but he also didn't change the circumstances either.
How do you compare Corral and Dart, Siski?
oh, they're a lot different. Doral a lot. I mean, Doral. That's a good one. You said Corral and Dart and go straight to golf. Dart is much bigger dude. Dart's a big dude. Dart's probably a better athlete. Matt probably has better arm talent. Both tough as shit. They're different. Matt's arm talent for me though. This is just my opinion. Y'all can shoot me. Matt's one of the most arm talented kids I've ever seen.
No, I was actually surprised to hear you say you think Jackson's a better athlete because I kind of thought of Matt as just being super twitchy.
Yeah, he wasn't though. He was he what? I mean, he's good. I mean, I'm not saying he's like lethargic or anything, but Dart's a really good athlete. He's a big dude, man. I'm sure you have Chase. When you walk up on him, I mean, you get a whole appreciation. I mean, he's a large person. Like to play quarterback, like you would never know it watching on TV. I mean, he looks 25 pounds lighter on TV than he does. I wish I had that problem. But no, he is a. The first time I met him, I was like, damn, he's a big ass kid, and for him to move, and then they both kind of got the same mentality, toughness, competitor, and all that stuff. I've never been on the board with Jackson, so I can't speak to that part. Matt's probably more arm talented than the kid is, but Dart is a competitor. I like the way I wouldn't kick him out of the meeting room. I'd like to coach him.
He broke the all-time passing record today in Ole Miss history, passing Eli Manning. Eli had 10,119 coming in. Dart passed it there in the first quarter. I need to look up and see where Dart is for the season. I mean, he'll have a chance in a bowl game, but I don't know how close he is. Chad Kelly has the record for most passing yards in a season, just over 4,000. I think it's 4,042, if I'm correct, just from the top of my head. So wherever Dart's at, we'll look at that and try to pull that up too. He is somewhat into that category. Decent question here.
Go ahead.
Yeah. What?
I was
What?
just
Go
saying.
ahead.
Did you say like kind of where's he at? Like away from that?
Yeah, it's fairly close. That is a good point. I am
Yeah, did
missed
you
the
see the
field goal
drop?
there in Athens, by the way.
Yeah, that was a chip shot. That won't haunt you. That won't haunt that 17 and a half at all.
Yeah, I'm sure none of that will matter. I'm sure.
Didn't it all need that to get a win in Athens? You
You should
just
have
leave
seen.
the points on the board and see where it goes.
I had one of the all timers today. I had Utah State, and for 57 minutes they were covering, and they did not cover the game.
What was the final
This one,
What was the
That
final
was
score?
uh uh Colorado State won by 5.
How about that? How about that right there? How about that, my boys? Have a hell of a
this
year.
this game set Dart back pretty good from a trying to catch Kelly. Dart today, 14 of 24, 143, 58%, average only 6 yards per, one touchdown, no picks, even though the 2-point conversion thing got picked, but that didn't count. He got sacked twice. On the season, he is sitting at, I have that here, where was it? I had it up a second ago. Let's see, 3,732 yards. So he is 311 yards away from the school record.
Well, I
Pretty
think
fast.
that school record's probably safe, boys.
You don't think he's going to throw for 311 in the bowl game, Cisco?
He's got to play first, and then he's going to have people to throw it to. They're going to play too,
or to block.
or to block.
And he didn't really have a ton of those already.
What odds do you give Dart of playing in the bowl game?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. It's probably I don't. I have no idea. I'm just. I would be surprised if there were no opt outs in the bowl game.
Yeah, I would too. I would set the over under at 5, frankly. Assuming no
I
playoff
don't
game.
know. It depends on do you play somebody else who has a bunch of opt outs and or somebody like happy to be at a bowl game they haven't been in 74 years. You know, that's the worst. That's the worst thing right now. The worst thing right now. I'm telling you, I'd go find the tallest building in Oxford, jump off of. The worst thing that happened is like an SEC team goes and they play like a Georgia Tech or somebody who had that are just freaking gung fucking ho, and you're like, man, if this was 3 months ago, we'd beat you by 60. Now we're gonna get our ass kicked. Now the fans are gonna be like, fire the coach because we can't win a damn bowl game against Georgia Tech. It's over. Cash in your chip. Just that's got to be the worst.
I can tell you, there's one team I will be betting on this bowl season. Whoever Vanderbilt plays, I will be betting on Vandy because Vandy is going to sell out for that bowl game.
Oh, I'm Vandy's going to be favored against. Vandy's going to play like
Michigan.
Vandy's going to play Michigan and be favored by 64.
And
so what you're saying, Siski, is you don't want to run into any like little anteaters like your 2012 Rebels, is what you're saying.
Right. This Pittsburgh was fucked from the day that bowl game got announced.
Well, and also, wasn't that like Pitt? I think it was Pitt's like third straight BBVA Compass Bowl. Like
that game. I don't know what the line was that game, but it was not enough. It's not enough. It wasn't enough.
There was not a number they could have offered that that Ole Miss couldn't have covered.
This is what look. I've been around long enough to know this is why I do get a little irritated at some of the Ole Miss fans that get a little pretentious at times. I'm like, hey guys, 10 years ago you bought all the beer in the BBVA's Compass Bowl and the Birmingham Bowl, and now we're bitching because you're one short of the National College Football Playoff. Like just the forget where you came from kind of thing.
But expectations get to change, Tyler. That's the way it works. The salary
fast,
goes up and you spend more money. Look, it's.
I believe it. The truest words I've ever heard in my life, Dan Werner. The truest words ever spoken. He goes, it was the week of the Egg Bowl in 2012. He's like, hey, we need to find a way to win this game. We'll go 6-6. And then next year we need to go like 7-5. And then we need to go like 8-4, and then we need to get the fuck out of here because because they will run our ass out of here faster than you've ever seen in your life. He said they will be if you all of a sudden you go out and you win 8 or 9 next year, by God, you better be winning the SEC the next year. Your ass is out of here. You're gone. The truer words never spoken.
In fairness,
I saw this. Go ahead.
That could have actually been the script. They went 6-6.
They
No,
went
we did
7-5.
7-5, and then they went 9-3, and you got the Florida offer.
Yep.
He just didn't take it.
Didn't take it.
Do you think there's any? I mean, I'm asking from I guess from a coach standpoint here. I see it in the stream, and I don't think it's the worst question. Do you think some of the reasons why their front runners or got tight have to do with the way that Lane has called these games, where he looks like he's on Madden and frustrated and not taking the points, and he tries to stay on the field? I mean, there is something to upping the stress level when your head coach won't just take the damn three, move on, trust your defense, especially in a place like Florida, where you can get a little rowdy and you're dealing with a team that's coming off a lot of emotion and different things along those lines. I mean, can coach play calling and the way that the urgency goes affect the team in that way?
Florida's another team we want to bet on in bowl games, I think.
Yes.
They're playing, they're like sticking together.
Yeah. Good call on that one. Write that one down.
Yeah, no, I had to make sure. That's why I made a note of it.
Don't let me forget that. I think talking about this year, I think one of the products was they didn't play. Now, not faulting them after seeing what I'm seeing with the committee. I think part of it is they were not challenged at all, athletically at all, until they lost the game. I honestly believe that if they played any other SEC team and won, and played Kentucky the next week, I think the jump in athleticism was part of the reason. And then they didn't have to play. Then they got it figured out and they started beating people pretty good again. And then they just didn't play a lot of close games. I mean, you have to learn how to win. You know what I mean? Like, you got to learn how to win. There's something to it. And they had already learned before I got there. But when I got to Alabama, I don't know what it was. Can't describe it. Can't tell you. Can't even explain to you. At no point in the game, at any game we ever played, did you ever think you were losing the game? And even when you were down or the game was close, nobody ever considered even losing. It was just a mentality in the building. And it was like you were almost like, you didn't even, when the game was over, you're like, are you sure there's not another quarter? Like, it just, there was nobody ever blinked. It was just one of the most mentally tough places. Hardened, I guess, is the right word, whatever you want to call it. And that's really the only place I've ever worked at like that. Everywhere else was kind of like, oh shit, you can't ever be the, oh shit, here we go kind of program, right? That if you got that and you're building, like, if you're waiting on bad things to happen, that's not good. And, you got to be, there is a mental part of the game that you have to be buttoned up, ready to go. And for Ole Miss, in my opinion, they didn't play anybody start the season. And so first time they even got tested, they lost. And it was athletic. It wasn't a scheme. If they played them 2 weeks later, they beat them by 40, right? Whatever it was. They'd hammered them. And then they kind of, then they go out and they go do what they did at South Carolina, right? And they go and they go on a run. They lose the LSU game. Literally, they had to lead the entire game. They just didn't put it away. Again, close game. Learn how to win close games. They won play. The LSU didn't have a lead to last play, right? And then last week in Florida,
Correct.
Then they go on a run again. They beat Georgia by 3 scores. They go on and they have the bye week and they go to Florida. And like even knowing the score of the game, when I watched it back because I was at a game, it almost like you never thought Ole Miss was going to lose the game. Hell, I knew that they like were pressing in the last 2 drives to the point to where when you press, you make mental errors, you make mental mistakes. And obviously throwing it, one of the worst picks he's probably ever thrown in his life was the first pick he threw. And then the second one was on Juice Wells. And you don't as a receiver, Juice Wells has probably ran that play 800 million times reading it. That's day one read stuff with a receiver. You leave him. The only reason you break it off is the guy's got you stacked by 5 or 6 yards. I mean, he was even with him. So you just make mistakes when it gets tight. And I thought I saw that when it got tight. And today they played tight today too. for a majority of that game, they played really tight, and they called the game tight. You know, they were pressing in play calls today.
Why
In my
is that? It's one thing on the field, but like, what causes pressing in the play calls?
well, you're 12 games in, and so it's kind of who you are at this point in time, right? So, um, just a lack of belief in the running game.
I do
Yeah.
think. I
You
think.
raising your
I think
hand?
they've got it.
I'm changing the channel on my thing.
It's like, you got a question, Mr. Chase?
Yeah,
Uh,
hold on.
Shout out. Also, if you've got other good bowl game ideas, Randy in the chat says Jacksonville State. That's another good one. Like they're gonna care.
Yeah, they're going to host. I'm thinking about going down next week. They play Friday. They host a Conference USA championship game.
Against who?
It depends. It's still up for
To be
grabs.
determined.
Yes.
Okay. Super chats real quick. Alex, huge one from you. Appreciate you as always. Known you for a long time now. Appreciate you guys for another year of great content. Thank you. No, thank you. Marine, yeah, we have a leaked 2025 schedule on the message board. You can go there. Trying to keep it to the board, not trying to do that publicly, but there is a 2025 schedule on the
I
board.
do think there's a legitimate question because I'm with Tyler. I mean, we said this in real time. Like, if you think back to the Kentucky game, it's like the fact that they played the schedule that they did, and then you had zero game pressure, you've had zero athletic, like anyone that could remotely hang with you athletically, and then you don't even have a great team in Kentucky, but you had a good, solid team, and they had a stud up front. Like the first time they got into a game with game pressure, it's like they did not handle it well. And that was kind of the script of the year. It's like when things worked and it worked great, like they were smooth sailing. Like when they played well, it seemed pretty obvious you couldn't beat them.
Mm-hmm.
But if they just played okay and it kind of came down to who handles the moment better, they were not the team that handled the moment better.
Ole Miss gets to. I mean, the SEC tries to work around the non-conference games that you have scheduled because you schedule those non-cons way out in advance.
They released the
Like,
schedule.
yeah, no,
Well,
we just have a leak.
Except for Ole Miss that scheduled the Washington State game.
Well, okay, yes, there was that.
I love when people do we have to schedule the game so far in advance. Well, we found out in COVID you can put a schedule together on the fly, and we found out teams this year, like when games get canceled, somehow they find a game.
Who are they playing?
They're playing.
Well, it's the same. It's the same teams as next year flipped in the league.
Same order?
No, order way different. The non-cons are spread out next year.
Okay, that's good.
But yeah,
Different.
your league games are just completely flipped. So I mean, State's in Starkville, Georgia's in Athens, so on, so on. Tulane and Washington State are your two toughest non-cons.
Wow. Got the Tulane Green Wave. When they got them?
September 20th is the Tulane Green Wave.
Ooh.
Siski, is Carolina wants Summerall. Would that be a spot he'd go for? Or do you think he waits for an SEC job?
Don't weigh the key on that one, boss.
Can't go there.
I didn't see they contacted.
What the hell happened? I guess both of y'all, because of John being close to Tyler and Memphis, Jeffrey. What the hell happened last night?
I think what you saw was that a team. It was like a Memphis needed Silverfield had them ready to go, and they popped him in the mouth. And then also Tulane all night on offense, like they would get they moved the ball, and then when it came, like it was kind of like an Ole Miss loss. Like when it came time on a money down, like they'd have a drop or they'd miss a throw. They had 2 bad red zone turnovers, but really what it was like Memphis played like they had nothing to lose, and Tulane kind of played tight. Like we've seen a lot of teams that are playing with stuff on the line the last couple of weeks.
Well, they were already in the championship game too, so that was
but that they still had an outside shot to be a playoff team. Like if something, Yeah.
It's just a nightmare as a coach because it's just a nightmare. They did. I mean, they got beat. They simply got beat. And I agree with kind of Jeffrey's deal, but my man John Summerall. Here's in my opinion, my man John Summerall is 25-0 as a head football coach when they outrushed the opponent, and they ran for 47 yards. So if you ask me about my
Ding,
analysis,
ding, ding.
that would be kind of where I stop that.
Haynes King
Georgia
to the
Tech
end.
on the board again. Yellow Jackets
I'm
9,
going to
pending
pick
the
up food. I'll
PAT to
chill
go
a
to
little bit.
10 against the Georgia Bulldogs here. Again, though, for everybody to understand, even if Georgia Tech wins this game, Georgia will fall below Ole Miss in the standings. However, they're already in the SEC championship game next week. The winner of that game gets an automatic bye. So keep that in mind. Georgia would have to lose this week and next week to fall below Ole Miss in the standings. So tonight would only be one of two steps. However, if Georgia did lose this game tonight, you would be pulling like all hell for whoever is playing the Bulldogs next week at the
Not really.
Mercedes-Benz.
Yeah,
Not
unless
really.
it's like
If it's Texas A&M, it wouldn't matter.
One's out either way, yeah. You actually would become a really big Longhorn fan the next week.
Dude, you'd be freaking like hook 'em horn.
You need Texas to run that bitch at that point. Win Saturday, win next week. Like, yeah.
I think Ole Miss fans, if Georgia loses this game, they may go start buying burnt orange shit tomorrow.
What's Georgia live?
Oh, good call, Jeffrey. That's why you're
this
on
feels
here.
this feels like a Kirby farts around, but they come back and win. I'm trying to find me two winners.
Doris is correct. I mean, that's the thing. If Georgia loses today and loses next week, you move ahead of the Bulldogs. Yeah, I mean, it's. I mean, you want Tech to win the damn game. There's no doubt about that.
Jeffrey,
I got at least leaves open.
I got Georgia minus 2.5 at plus 100.
All right, I'll join you.
What do you no? Hang on. Hang on. We're discussing this. What do you think?
I think I'd rather have. I don't think they're losing. Do you?
Oh. No, but I like part of me wants to just I want just complete fucking chaos. You know what I mean? Like I want to pull for chaos.
Well, your bet is not changing the outcome, Siski. If so, you would be making a lot more money than you are.
No, but
what
he's saying is he doesn't want his bet. Like there were like when we were thinking about taking Alabama live against Vanderbilt, you don't want to have the situation where your bet impacts you, like how you're rooting. I get what he's saying there.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I understand. Yeah, just take the Georgia money line.
Georgia money line is minus 115.
I don't know. I don't like
I can now get plus one. Hang on. I can now get plus. No, it changed. I can get Georgia at plus 1.5 or plus 100. Locking her in, boys.
Somebody asking me what brand this quarter zip is. I don't know. I have to look. I'll put it to stream. I'm not sure. It's one of those zero friction things, Jeffrey. What are they called?
Zero restriction. Is that what you're saying?
Is that the brand name?
Yeah, where I know it. It's like the super duper weatherproof or whatever.
Yeah, but yeah, it's like really thick. It's high quality.
Yeah.
All right, so I got them at I took them at plus 1.5 for plus 100 for a unit.
The other problem though is do I try to get a double winner when it's like,
oh, here we go. Carson Beck and the tight end show. You better hurry. They're getting across. They're getting across. Lines are going to be moving.
Oh no!
Now
are they already moving?
Oh yeah, they move every play.
Well, I'm going to feel if they score right here, I'm going to feel really good about that bet.
Nebraska down to the 2.
Let's go, Cornhuskers. Hey, that's another team. Write it down for the bowl games.
Well, and also, I think Dana was a good hire. I think for him that was a really good hire.
I will find out because they're a newer client, so I'll find out. I'm so interested how that worked out. I don't know, like that would be so odd to come in the middle of the season and start calling plays. I mean, I'm sure he's trying to use their terminology into what he wants to do,
Yeah.
but like, dude, that's a lot of. I mean, that's wild. I couldn't imagine doing that. I mean, it's nuts.
I mean, I'll say this though, Rayola's looked better with him.
Yeah, I mean, he's gonna be good.
I think the cosplaying is Patrick Mahomes is weird though.
It's different.
I find that odd.
So Chase, what did we end up doing for Thanksgiving dinner last night, dog?
Real quick, Zero Restriction Tour Series is what this is. All right, I
There
was
we
trying to
go.
figure
There
out
we
for the.
You over there
Yes,
doing
you want you want them to lose. We smoked the turkey yesterday, Siski. Put it on the egg.
okay?
Did it?
Now,
It cooked much
talk to me.
faster than I thought it normally does. Typically, that thing takes me about 3.5 to 4, and that bad boy was
Okay.
done right at 3 yesterday. Kind of rushed things up a little bit.
Temp,
So had that. Do what?
temperature.
Tried to keep it around 315 ish,
Okay.
something like that.
You
Maybe
were
a
that.
little warm.
You got that grown man smoker. I'm over here with a kitty toy. That's what I got. I got the cheat code.
They send balls out. Guys, are they send ball out?
On what game we talking about, boss?
Georgia.
Oh yeah, it's out. It's out bigger than shit.
Did he have it before that though?
Yeah, no, this is a catch and fumble. No, Siski's 100%. I didn't see. So I saw the guy, the angle that I didn't see. Like, yeah, that 100% is out,
Hey, that's a fumble. That's not even close.
and it's definitely a catch. He takes like 5 steps.
All right, now we can get them at. Oh, now we can get the money line at plus money now.
I'm kind of like you though. I don't know. I kind of like just sitting here with plus 17. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're just seeing a 27-point lead right now and riding it.
Exactly. I got a 4 touchdown lead.
No, but look, you can go get plus money. Now it's plus 2.5. I just moved.
Yeah,
so Alex giving a super chat here. Appreciate you again. He says it's just to get Tyler to give us a good inside baseball story from days at Ole Miss he hasn't told yet.
The good ones I can't tell.
I mean, a moderate one probably.
You just give me a minute. I got to figure out what I can say. I got to think about that before I.
Dan Warner stories are good.
Nobody's listening.
Yeah, nobody's listening. Oh. I've told the story
while you're
about
doing
me.
that about, go ahead.
I've told the story about me sitting there when the infamous tweet went out, huh?
I don't think we've heard that one.
Ole Miss
the if you have a problem. No, go ahead and tell that one. That's a good one.
Well, I know why you're gonna like it, Jeffrey. You just freaking just started grinning from ear to fucking ear.
Tyler Tiamina, thanks for the super chat real quick. Siski's about to tell the story. Says, appreciate y'all doing this post-game show all year. The other shows, board content too. Top tier group, especially Siski's input. Now he's going to input a little story on us here with that shindig. So I guess timeline real quick. What obviously you came in with Hugh. When did you leave in that first tenure? What was your last day on the job that first time?
March of 13.
March of 13. Okay, go ahead.
So when that tweet went out, we had gone. That was right before something like Monday of signing day. We had a staff meeting, and it was dead. We're dead. So we finished all recruiting. We were going over all the, we got Laramie had committed like the Thursday before or whatever it was, and we were having a staff meeting, and the staff meeting broke, and we were going over the board, And so it was me and Hugh. I think there were a few other people in there, not everybody. And compliance came in and said that Georgia had turned us in to the SEC and the NCAA, and they said that we had sent Laramie to New Orleans for the Super Bowl because the Super Bowl was, he was going to stay with Archie, and that's not what happened. Georgia was supposed to go see Laramie on Friday, and we talked Laramie into basically hiding in plain sight. He left his phone in his house and he went across the street with his girlfriend to the park, and they sat in the park the entire day. And he didn't go to school. And so when Georgia showed up, they just said I don't know what they told him that, and he was gone or out of town or whatever, but he didn't see him. And they turned us in and said, and it pissed Hugh off because that's not what happened. And so then Hugh sent the tweet. If you got a problem, basically, you got any evidence of, because we wasn't, he was across the street in the park. And so that's how that happened. I was like, "You sure you want to do that, boss? You sure you want? You sure you want? You sure you want to do that, coat? There's glass houses and all, and stone. Sure you want to do that? You know what I mean? Like, you positive? Are you? How pissed are you? Are you sure?" But yeah, that was. I'm sure that's one he can take back. But the best part was how, like, the emails that they were getting. That was the best part, because it was like they would get emails like "fuck you," just 99% of them were troll emails.
All right,
Where were you when you heard about him calling Lindsey Miller a wife beater?
I don't remember that.
Do you not?
I really don't. I'm not even being funny.
Because I think that changed as much as anything during that whole process. I really do.
I wasn't there either, though, right? I
know.
left.
Yeah.
So I don't. But I don't remember. I don't remember all that. I got CTE and all, Diet Millers and CTE and ADD and OCD and whatever you can think of. I'm sure if I'd ran in a marathon, I got another 3-letter something too. I'd picked up something.
You can run. You can train with me for my next one. You can hop on board.
I can't run anymore, boss. I can't run anymore. I'm not complaining.
I don't have a ton of. They're asking for the leading up the hours up to Hugh stepping down. That was more like a week. I don't have any kind of crazy story leading up to when he did it that day. I thought it was coming at media day or right there, and it still lingered on a little extra time after that. At that, because considering everything going on, Hugh had a really good media day performance to like filibuster and get out of that place without anything really happening. Like, he did a hell of a job.
Is that the one where he was like telling like the bio of the holder and stuff? He was going down.
Dude pulled a Les Miles and made sure the questions were minimal because we're just going all in on the intro there. Alexandria, I'm not planning the next marathon yet, but I do know I want to run another one. I caught myself like Googling like bucket list U.S. marathons just to kind of see what's out there. So we're in the contemplation phase right now of the process. But so that was going on, and the whole Mars and Steve Robertson thing. The day that he actually steps down, I don't think it's that day. Got a call or a text like right when they finally talked him into it, because it took hours to get him to actually talk him into it and sort of move on from there. And the text was like, "Hey, he's done it," or whatever. And then like 5 minutes later, it was like, "Hey, get to the pavilion as soon as possible. They're going to have this thing." And I've told this part of the story. They're doing it in the bowels of the pavilion. They're like, "Hey, park in the loading dock behind the building so nobody even sees the cars. Like, pull in behind the thing up in the loading dock and do it back here or whatever." And I walked down into the bowels close to the press conference, and I was just going to run to the bathroom real quick. And I walked in. There was nobody in there but me and Ross. And he was like covered in sweat. I don't know if he'd like run from somewhere. I don't know what it was, but he was like toweling off at like the sink and like washing his hands, like fixing his hair, doing like that whole deal, whatever. And I was like, "You okay?" And he goes, "It took hours. He wouldn't quit." And that was like the words out of his mouth. So he goes, "It took hours. He wouldn't quit," because they'd spend hours trying to get him to just step down and call it. I'm like, "Dude, we've got all this. You can't keep on." And he was going, no. If you just let me work through it, people will forget it. We're going to be okay or whatever. And it took him on and on and on and on to get him to go away. And then that night was pretty good. They did the press conference, and I think we went back and did a podcast for like 3 hours. We were like, I don't know, like it's just going to be on and on and on and on and on and on. But yeah, that
I think
was
Matt was at in Memphis maybe at a birthday party, and they called him. He didn't know they called him. He had to come back. He had to leave the birthday party. I think it was one of his kids' birthdays party.
really.
Yeah,
It won't be Boston because you got to raise a ton of money, and I definitely am not fast enough to qualify, so it will not be Boston next. I do know
want to
who
do
like
another one?
Houston, Alexandra. Yeah, I want to do another one.
Why?
You're kind of like, hey, you've checked it off the list now, so
Well,
like,
let's have a real conversation. Why? Like you've already done it, dog. Like what else you like? What like? Let's have a Dr. Phil moment here. Why do you want to do it again? Like are you not? There could be reasons. Are you not satisfied with your time? I mean, what are we? Why do we want to do it again?
I do think I am. I think the next 4 to 6 months, I do think I'm going to have some positive body changes. Like I've said this, and I'm not. This is not about an ad or anything else. I think that I've got a really good plan going with the men's clinic out of Jackson, Brandon right now. Like we're about to focus on some flexibility, some strength for a little while, some stuff like that. I want to get in a little better shape, and I do think I would like to run another one a little more like maxed out in that standpoint. I learned a lot. I mean, there's lots that I'm just sort of frustrated with about the first marathon that I had trained a certain way, and then it didn't go as planned, and I've had to kind of figure that out and see some different things. Like I kind of want to implement some of those things that I learned now at this point. So yeah, I think it's just I've sort of gotten. I mean, I'm not addicted to marathons. Don't get me wrong, and I am kind of glad to get away from it for a minute and not run quite like that for the next few months. But there's some things to improve. I don't know that I want that performance to be the one that is my only one in that area.
You still haven't given me a reason why.
That is a reason.
I'm just fucking with you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Luke, I have no prayer of qualifying. That's what I'm saying. It would have to be raising a ton of money.
Why do you have to raise money to go run a marathon?
Boston, yeah, you can't just sign up. You got to either do a charity and raise a ton of money. I think Luke said it's 20K,
Holy
or
shit,
yeah, or you got to run a 310, and
brother,
that is not in the
brother.
wheelhouse.
Hey, look, you can start right here on Highway 6 and 7, and I'll pick your ass up on the way to Tupelo when we hit 26. You don't have to
That
do a race. You know what I'm saying? Like, look, we could do it. We could call it the Rebel Grove Marathon. We'll have a finish line somewhere around Pontotoc over there. We're on the other side of Pontotoc, and you start the race in Oxford. You just run straight down fucking Highway 6, man. Just run straight down 6, and we'll give you a ride back, dog. And we'll have people with the gummies, and we'll put cold beers. We'll have it, along the way, and we
you're
can just
saying I don't have to spend 2 grand to run a marathon. We can make this happen right here.
bro, we can do this shit out on Highway 6. Like and you don't even have to turn around. Just straight shot. You just tell me, hey, you let me know when. Hey, we can live stream the whole thing. We can follow you with a call. We can follow you with a phone, like on like the Ross bike, with a helmet. Put one on top, and we'll just be pedaling behind you.
You
What
just
do you
got to
think?
drive the truck every like 2 miles. Come back, let me run by. You'll hand me some stuff. Do it again.
Yeah,
Just over.
yeah, just like Tour de France. We'll call it a Tour de Chase. Hey, by the way, I bet this 17-0.
Okay, is there a world where this is killing Ole Miss's best win and actually hurts them? In all seriousness,
I mean, I don't know. I mean, who fucking knows? Like I said on our podcast the other day, we don't put pineapple on a pizza. We don't eat boneless chicken wings. We don't call our seltzers beer. Okay. A hot dog is not a sandwich. Okay. We don't put tampons in men's restrooms. We don't support dudes playing chick sports. And if you're a fan of a 3-loss team, you can't complain if you don't get in the playoffs.
there are just rules and tenets to live by, and
They're
that
just rules.
is
Those are just rules. If you, it's like buying a lottery ticket, man. You got a little shop. If you don't make it, hey, whatever. You know, you don't. You just, you know, it's kind of is what it is.
No, I mean I agree that I think it's. I mean you got to have people lose. So if Georgia can lose the next 2 games, that's what you want. Don't get me wrong. I'm just wondering if they're when you start getting into the resume contest with any other 3-loss team, if you get into a mess where that's potentially something. That's all.
Well, in my opinion, the only 3-loss team that's going to come into is
South Carolina.
South Carolina and Alabama, right? And then, but you need Auburn. You need Auburn to win or whatever, and then you gotta. And then if it's between you and South Carolina, you beat them by 20-something points.
Do you think that's going to matter in end of day?
I'm sorry.
Do you think that's going to matter in today?
No.
Okay. My point is, if it came down to it, does head-to-head overrule one team looking like they're playing better?
I mean, if you said it was like a 1-point game on the road, if they lost like by 2, like that's what I'm saying. I think South Carolina would have a better argument against Alabama than they would Ole Miss because they went on the road and lost by 2, right? They got their ass kicked at home by Ole Miss. Like, there's differences. And I don't know. And you can say, well, Sellers wasn't 100% healthy, but he played. You know what I mean? So I still think, regardless, you're going to have the ACC or the Big Ten lose a bid. And this isn't helping the cause right here. I can tell you that. I will tell you that. It's not helping the cause for the but I almost pressed it up again. Let's see what the live is right now. Plus 220 on the Georgia money line right now.
We might could set that up, guys. We could probably create a course, get that thing kind of like closed off for a few hours. We'll get us a MPW Digital Quick U Marathon course set up in Oxford and knock this.
I'm not running
this puppy out for people.
I'll ride though right behind you. I'm not running. I can't run.
That was the person I felt the worst for. I may have I've said this on one of the podcasts. Is the last like 10 miles of the race, 11 miles, was an out and back by the river. And when I was headed in to finish, so this would have been, I mean, several miles behind me. I don't know, probably 5-6 miles behind me. I saw like the pace car. So like what the last person ahead of like the pace you have to keep to stay on the course is. And this poor woman, she was 5 feet in front of the pace car, and still had like 10 miles to go. She had no prayer of staying at that pace for like 10 miles. Like, no chance. So like that's who I felt the worst for, because I'm like, she's 16, 17 miles into this thing, and she's not going to be able to keep that pace up. Like, she's going to have to fall out because she's right in front of this car.
Brother, if I'm going to let you know right now, I'm just going to be honest with you. Just real talk. If I was 17 miles into a marathon that I trained my ass off for, and that pace car, I would probably pick up a rock and throw it through the fucking windshield. They ain't gonna making me fucking quit. If I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it. There's a 0% chance to go, hey, the pace car passed you. You had to drop out of the race. I swear to you, Chase, I'd have picked the fucking rock up and threw it right through the fucking windshield. Like, get the fuck back. Like, stop. I'm not leaving. Like, I'm not leaving. Like, they made people quit.
They open up the roads, so you're like at the mercy of traffic at some point coming back.
They had to run my ass over. I would throw a fucking brick through a windshield. There's no chance if you train that hard. Would you just quit? I mean, how much time did you spend training for that damn thing? Like, when did you start?
4 to 5 days a week for 18 weeks.
Yeah, 0% chance. I'd slid a tire. I'd have done whatever. That car's not passing me. I mean, that's so rude. That's rude.
They set it like whatever the thing is, and they just inch along.
Oh no.
Oh, and then Alexandra said your finish time doesn't count if you're after the cutoff.
I don't give a shit about that. I mean, your time. Okay. I mean, if you don't win the damn thing, what does your time matter anyway?
It doesn't whatsoever. No.
That's what I'm saying. So like 10 people.
Well, I've told this story. Like that's how I stayed humble. Is I came home and my daughter goes, "Hey, Leah."
She's on camera.
Yeah. I came home. My daughter was like, "Hey, where's your medal?" And I like handed it to her, and she goes, "Why is it so small?" And I was like, I don't know. And then she goes, "Did you win?" I was like, "No, I finished it." Like some like a Kenyan one. She's like, "Oh, you didn't win." I'm like, "No, no, no, I didn't win. Like that was not like that was did
Hey,
not win." Like,
I had a funny the other day. I was doing a TikTok live at my brother in law's house, and I had gone downstairs. The Wi-Fi signal was all jacked up, and so I'd gone downstairs to closer to the port or whatever, and I was sitting there. And I thought all the kids. We had a house full of kids. We had 14 kids in the house, and I thought they were all gone. And so I'm sitting there. I'm doing this TikTok live chase for like 15, 20 minutes, and then my little 3-year-old niece walks out holding glasses, and she just walked right up and crawled right up my lap, and she goes, "Why are you talking to yourself?" I'd been in there dropping f bombs and everything else. I was like, "It's like don't tell your mama what I said now, okay?" Well, we had to keep it on the hush hush. My baby girl Rivers.
are you? I mean, looking back, I guess is what I put this. Are you surprised you're doing this and getting the level of enjoyment out of it that you are?
Doing
Like
what,
the day
Bo?
you quit, like just media podcasts, all the social media, all the stuff.
Oh, look, I miss a lot of it now. There's a lot of it I don't miss. It's what's funny is the parts I miss is what the people would probably expect. Like I miss having my own room. I miss the everyday grind of it. Game day is fun, but I missed the grind of it a little bit. I don't miss the portal stuff. I don't. I couldn't. That would the the being their friend and not being their coach. That wouldn't work with me. So that's a non-negotiable. So a lot of that a lot of the stuff, um, in a way, like it just is a non-negotiable with me. And so there's some things that I would um, not like for sure, even more. I think recruiting is easier, for sure. Building a roster is easier for sure. Um, I mean, I wish I had more than 25 initials when I showed up in 2018, but we could have got we could have had some fun. Um, but I wish that because contrary to popular belief, Chase, before NIL came, no players ever got paid. So when the money got here in NIL, it'd been great to like pay players to go get recruits and stuff. That'd have been fun. But no, I really enjoy the this aspect of it a ton, and it kind of what I'm doing with my job keeps me involved. Like I still do the same shit I've always done. I don't get fired when somebody pees in the end zone. I don't care where the players go as long as they go somewhere.
Neil should be here pretty soon. I mean, I would expect him at this point. I don't know an update. I haven't looked, but it's been done for a bit, so I would assume that
What are we
is
doing?
the
What's my man Scoops doing?
putting up content. He put something up 9 minutes ago, so I'm assuming
He's
he's
getting
pretty
close.
close. Yeah, he's got a Dart story up. He has a column up. There's an AP story up, and I'm assuming that he was looking for the Lane video, but it does not appear to be up at this point. Best I can tell. That is. No, I mean Tyler sort of answered it. There are things he misses, so he's doing this as a way to, I mean, frankly, make some money, stay in the game a little bit. I mean, you do like talking about this stuff. If not, you wouldn't do it.
I've always done that. I just had a mute on my button the whole time. I couldn't talk. I've always talked. I talked to y'all at practice. We had our own podcast at practices. They wasn't aired.
Do you need to voice and talk? Do you feel like you have to speak?
No,
Okay.
I'm easy, dude. I'm
Some
easy.
people
It's
feel like they
funny.
got to like just get it out. Like they can't just be an introvert who doesn't like do this kind of stuff and have conversations.
Well, you got to remember, like part of my job was talking too. I mean,
Yeah.
that's. I mean, I had to go. I had to go. I had to be on all the time. And that wears you out. When you're having to be on all the time.
That is a good point there, Ben, in the stream. Again, remember you got by the way, Lane Kiffin, Jackson Dart taking pictures with the trophy more than an hour after the game at midfield. That's interesting. Um, Didn't see that coming. MPW 15 for 15% off at Realtree.com. And then 75% off an annual subscription at RebelGrove.com. The entire Rivals network. It is the deepest discount of the year. That is Rivals 24 at checkout. 75% off right now for that. 75% off Rivals 24 for an annual subscription. Rivals.com. That is true. Yeah, we were just trying to finish the marathon. There was nothing beyond that. So that's it. Georgia Tech 17, Georgia 0 at the half. Georgia threatening to fall again. And this is sort of like the epitome of the era we're in, right? I mean, what is it that has allowed Georgia to be in this shape or not be the superhero that was going on?
I don't know, man. You know, they play with their food last year in this game too. Brent Key's a good coach. This is his Super Bowl. He's a Georgia Tech guy. I didn't see this. I'm gonna be honest with you. I thought Georgia being in the position they were in would come out playing, but right now they're getting gashed on the grounds, particularly quarterback runs. And they're getting gashed.
Georgia Tech total yards 307 to 137 right now.
Say that again.
Total yards in the first half 307 to 137.
Yeah, that's not good. It's not good if you're a Georgia fan.
What are you on tomorrow? What's the best bet?
Tomorrow, I don't know. Let me look at my card. Let's see what I got left.
I haven't done the Spartan race. The next one I'm considering, and maybe I'm a moron. If anybody's run this, tell me if it's any good or not. If I'm being real, I've gotten social media ads about it, and I'm thinking about it. I think it's in April. It's that Death by 5K in Memphis where you run the 10 5Ks over 24 hours or whatever it is.
What the fuck's wrong with you, man? Like, seriously. I'm over here trying to pick my picks. I'm over here going through a text message looking for my pick for my card. I hear I'm thinking about doing death in Memphis, death by 10, 10Ks, 24 hours. Like, how about this? What if you just go like jump, like let's go have a couple shots and let's go play in the middle of Highway 7 and see what happens.
So you're in the park and you run a 5K. So a new 5K starts every 2.5 hours for 25 hours, I guess. So you run one, and then you have like an hour and a half, 2 hours of rest, and then you run another one. And over the course of a day, which includes at night and everything, you have run 10 5Ks.
That's why.
Just something a little different. I don't know.
Well, again, different.
You're testing yourself, Tyler.
There's a bunch of different ways you can do that. A bunch of different ways you can do that. You don't have to go. I mean, shit. You don't need to go. Hey, you don't need to go run 10 5Ks in Memphis to test yourself. Just walk down Winchester. How about this? I could drop you off at the corner of Winchester and 78, and see if you can walk to the airport and make it alive. That's death by Memphis. Yeah, let's do that.
Just lasting 25 hours in Memphis, see if you got it. Like
Hey, I'll drop you off at the corner of Winchester and 78 right there and just say, can you make it to 240? If you can make it to 240, you get a medal. What about that? What do you think? You think you do that?
You don't like my idea?
I think death by Memphis is, like I said, starting at Winchester.
You don't want to come hang out in the tent with me for a day while I'm waiting for run the next one?
Yeah, I'll come hang out with you. I'll drink beer and hang out with you for sure.
Okay.
How long is it? I'll do that for sure. We can do that. Yeah. Be like, how was that one? You'd be like, sucked.
No, it's an easy walk if you're walking it, but the point is you're trying to like run it, then get a break. So if you run it in 35 minutes even or whatever, then you get 2 hours of rest, then you run the next one, and then you just do it over and over and over again.
All right, tomorrow. I got Tennessee minus 10.5. I got Syracuse plus 11.
So you don't believe in Diego Pavia tomorrow?
No. Well, I
Okay.
mean, I'm also thought Georgia should be winning right now with the same kind of mindset. Apparently, we missed those mindsets. But I think Tennessee will cover. I like Syracuse plus 11 at home. I like South Carolina plus 2.5. I actually like South Carolina money line. I like Texas A&M plus 5.5. And then
You
my
don't
money
like the
line.
money line on that?
Well,
Or you're
I mean,
not getting
yes,
enough to value it?
I didn't look, but it's probably like 175. But you give me 5.5 at home. I mean, that's got backdoor field goal game, whatever, right? Close game. I like that. And then I got the USC money line over Notre Dame.
What is it
So
about that game? Because that would make Ole Miss people potentially happy.
um, Notre Dame can run the football. So if you can stop the run, and they're very on defense, they're very pedestrian on the back end. So if you can stretch the field and stop the run, you got a chance. Now, if you can't stop the run, you have no chance. And shockingly, USC has shown ability to stop the run at times this year, and it's the best athletes. They don't play. They hardly. They don't. They haven't really played anybody. Oh, I hear scoops. I hear scoops. I hear scoops. There he is. I heard him.
What's up, boys?
Tyler lost
The
all his
man, the
train
myth,
of thought, everything, just completely.
I'm fired up to see
Tyler
my
was
guy.
yelling at me that I need a new hobby because I was contemplating running. Memphis has a death by 5K where you just run 10 5Ks over 24 hours. I'm thinking about that being my next race.
Why?
That was.
Exactly. What I said. Verbatim. Verbatim.
I don't know.
Hey, Scoops. I told him the real death by Memphis would be to drop him off at 78 in Winchester and see if he could just walk to 240. If he could just walk to 240 and survive.
Drop him off at the pony and just see what happens. Yep.
Hey, so the pony's the finish line. Me and you will be at the finish line waiting on him. Me, you, and Chad Kelly. You like
You put a 10 up in the park, you run a 5K, then you run it and you got however long to rest until 2.5 hours later and another one starts and you do that for 25 hours.
I'd rather just run a marathon.
Well, yeah, it's a different challenge.
Hey, well, how far is 10 5Ks?
31 miles ish.
Oh, Chase, why? Like how much?
Roberto, thanks for super chat. Says shout out to my boy Charlie down in Masonville, Louisiana. He called it. That's you. Uh, saw your tweet, Neil. Lane and Jackson taking pictures on the field more than an hour after with the trophy. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah, a lot of content up at rebelgrove.com, by the way. Got a column, notebook. I just added to the notebook. Jackson Dart story, Kiffin video. Seems like there's something else. A lot there.
AP story.
Yeah. Huh?
AP story's up too. Saw it.
Okay. Yeah, and I put up a quick little AP story from Ole Miss Purdue basketball too.
About got him one.
Yeah,
Scoops.
I mean, I think it was clearly a sentimental. I mean, Jackson was upset before the game. He was upset after the game. It's a big week. It's wrapped up his career here in all likelihood, and I mean, he had a hell of a career, and I think it kind of hit him as the day went on, and certainly as the game ended. This was a likely the close to a huge chapter in his life.
What was Lane like tonight?
Pretty good, pretty positive. Made a joke about the Bentley stuff, which was funny to those of us who cover it journalistically. He basically asked where Ben Garrett was. It was kind of funny. I mean, we laughed. I thought it was funny. He was in a good mood. He was asked, to make their case, and he chose not to. He just said, I'm not getting into that tonight. And he talked about, this group, a lot of guys played their last game here today. And he talked about, all they had achieved in the program and what they meant to the program. And he talked in incredibly glowing terms about Jackson Dart, the player, the person, what he's meant to the program, their relationship, all of those things. I mean, Lane was, mentioned a couple of times that they always, the way he always says it, they screwed up a game. They screwed up a game or two that, will haunt them probably for a while. And but he didn't want that to be all that tonight was about. That they won the rivalry game again. I guess this is 4 out of 5 years that he's won it, and the program is certainly in a great spot compared to where it was when he got here, when Jackson got here, stuff like that. So, I think he was reflective and appreciative and maybe even a dash sentimental.
Do we know anything about what they're kind of doing from here? Just sort of waiting for a week? I mean, was there anything schedule or calendar wise at all?
No, there was no mention of schedules and stuff. So I'm sure that they're not doing anything next week from on-field stuff. Hopefully, we don't do anything media-wise until next Sunday too. We all need a break from it. I mean, shut up, Neil. Okay, good.
It's basketball season, Neil.
No, it's not that. It's the Bentley thing. The Bentley thing is becoming. People say you get upset about it. I'm not upset about it, but I mean, anybody gets a little upset when you have your professionalism completely questioned over and over and over. I mean, we've asked Lane Kiffin the question. He's answered it. We've asked it. He's answered it. We've asked it. He's answered it. Someone comes in on Monday pissed off that their team lost and throws a bunch of salvos at him, and then what's he supposed to do? And then he breaks the run. I love Ulysses. He's a great guy. I talked to him tonight. Videos up on the site. There's a couple of quotes. The whole deal. But I mean, he's not the first person to break a long run against Mississippi State this year.
We asked this earlier. How do you kind of grade the offense and the defense on the season?
The defense gets an A for sure. They gave A numbers. I mean, they played well enough to be 11-1, 12-0.
Hit on a lot of portal guys. Had very few misses from a portal standpoint on that side.
Yeah,
Had some.
yeah. I mean,
Key Lawrence comes to mind, but
I think the offense is probably, grading harshly, a B minus. I mean, they got it done. They were prolific in the passing game, especially when everyone was healthy. They struggled to establish the run. And look, if you watched today with any degree of objectivity, just a shred of it, there were multiple plays, where the left side of the offensive line caved in to the point that, Barry Sanders isn't getting a lot done behind those guys. I mean, it's one thing to go, Micah Davis sucks. Okay, cool. But if you're getting hit for the first time 2.5 yards behind the line of scrimmage, the odds are that play's not going to be just some raging success. That's not going to look like you're running behind Anthony Munoz and a bunch of all pros right there. If the offensive line loses at the point of attack, it's funny how we never say, man, these other teams that play against Ole Miss, their running games sure suck. Their running backs must suck. No, they're getting beat up front. And when you get beat up front, everything breaks down. The timing of every play. I don't even know anything about football, and I know that. If the timing breaks down, everything breaks down. And so if you get beat in the trenches consistently, and there were multiple games this year where Ole Miss up front just didn't handle a lot of things particularly well. And this is a tough league. There's a lot of really good athletes that play on the defensive side of the football in the SEC. A lot of guys that are off the edge, that are freak athletes, that if they were 4 inches taller, they'd be college basketball power forwards. They're elite athletes, and it's hard to protect in the SEC. It's hard to establish the run in the SEC, and they were pretty inconsistent doing it. So I'd probably give the offense a a B minus. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a team that went 9-3. They went 5-3 in the SEC, and they were awfully, awfully close to being much better than that. They didn't have any close wins. They had 9 comfortable to blowout wins, and they had 3 really close games, and they lost them all. And I'm sure that if you go back, there are some commonalities in those games.
I mean, we've kind of talked about that throughout the show. Ole Miss loses every single possession game they have this season. They blow out everybody that they beat at this point. I mean, from a losable standpoint, or like the game that was in the most trouble. I mean, was it freaking Oklahoma of their wins?
Yeah, because Oklahoma led at the
Probably.
half. Yeah,
Yeah.
Oklahoma led at the half.
And that's still a 2-touchdown win.
Yeah.
It's actually
They won.
same scores tonight, 26-14. Ole Miss won
Yeah,
2 games, 26-14.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was Oklahoma, and then in fairness to Mississippi State today, they have it first and goal at the 1. If they get it in right there, it's a 1-score game. I mean, they credit to them, and Lane gave credit to them. They played really hard. They had a good plan. They were not going to let Ole Miss just throw the ball over them. They played kind of what I'm sure Tyler's talked about it. 3, cover. I don't know whether you call it cover 3 or I don't know what you call it, but 3 guys kind of back. They weren't going to give up the big play. They were going to make Ole Miss drive the field, and I mean it was a good strategy, and they had some success with it.
Georgia Tech, by the way, beating the crap out of Georgia right now, starting the second half in Athens.
Also, the Clippers losing right now, so that's good for draft picks.
Oh. We got an update on Chet these days. How's he doing?
He's on his crutches.
Okay.
He's gonna run that 10. He's gonna run that 10 5K race with you in Memphis.
Yeah. Feels safe.
You can do that, Neil.
No, I mean if I run that far again, I'll run a marathon.
I guess there is something to that. You've run 31, and like you don't even get to say you run a marathon. You just ran 10 5Ks for some reason.
I mean, there's nothing about that sounds appealing. I mean, not even the running. Just like what'd you do today? I ran 10 5Ks. A lot of people.
That's a lot of time to kill too. You're in a tent for like more than half the day, just hanging out.
Hey, I think at this point you have to do it.
And by the end of that, people are gonna smell, man. Like really smell.
Yeah, we'd have to like throw you down with some Febreze or something before coming hanging.
Yeah, I'm not. No thanks. Now, if I'm gonna run that far, I'll just run for 4 hours and be done with it.
Is it more danger in the tent or on the trail?
I'm sure it's a safe part of Memphis. It's fine. Don't worry about that.
Where's that?
So basically you go to Collierville and just run laps around the park.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where's that located again, Chase? I was just curious. Where's this race been ran?
I don't know.
Might occasionally venture into parts of Germantown, but that's about it.
Oh God!
So all right, you're running at Mike Rose. You're just running
this Memphis
Mike
5K
Rose soccer complex over and over and over.
This Memphis 5K ran in Millington, Tennessee.
Yeah. Jason Jeff's question. I mean, Neil can add on because he probably might have been on the field there toward the end. It was a full crowd, but it was not a lively crowd from what I saw in the first half. It was full. They did better than I thought they would do attendance wise, but it was a bit listless at times.
Yeah, there was the area in was it south end zone? Is that where the students are?
Yeah.
Yeah,
no, north end zone. Sorry, north end zone.
Okay, that end zone. There were some empty seats up in the top part of that. It was mostly full. I mean, I in the 60s, I would guess, in terms of crowd, more than I thought they would have. And it was a little quiet. I mean, it wasn't crazy. It wasn't rambunctious. It wasn't the party that it would have been had they beaten Florida on Saturday or had they beaten Kentucky in September, for that matter. But it was, like Eli Acker, 5 minutes after the game ended, had to run in and get the egg to bring it out. I mean, the whole, when it ended, there wasn't a mad rush to go get the egg and parade it around the stadium. There was a certain degree of what could have been. That, I wrote that in my column, and I've already seen where some people some people are upset at that, but it's true. There was a certain degree of what could have been. And, in the event that tomorrow and tonight and tomorrow don't go Ole Miss's way, they'll look back and eventually they'll, move on from it and go, it was a fun season. It was an interesting season. Lane referred to it as a weird season. But, they'll look back at what could have been, because this is a team that probably was capable at times of, especially knowing what you know now, watching the state of college football, this was a team that was capable of doing something.
Lane mentioned Libby at all?
Just complimented them for complimenting Jeff for having his team ready to play and having a good plan. I mean, nothing major, no snark. There was nothing. The only snark was directed at the whole Ben Garrett thing.
I mean, I think you do make a point. I mean, they're not going to leave the trophy on the field, as we talked about for a lot of years, but they have. I mean, State's helped them by being 2-10 and not playing a single-digit SEC game the entire season. But I mean, these two programs right now feel so far apart that there is a complete de-emphasized on just the rivalry and all that crap that comes up with it. I mean, this was a game that, like you said, I mean, Ole Miss had so many more bigger picture items that stand there that this wasn't about an Egg Bowl trophy or an in-state rivalry or making sure that so-and-so says anything. If anything, Lane earlier in the week was talking about Tom Luke, but it was more of, hey, you guys got to get ready at least. It was just, hey, we got to play the game. You can't lull into Florida more than, oh, them sons of bitches over there, we got to go make sure we go get an egg. There's a difference there as time is going on.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they've gotten to a place where beating Mississippi State can't be the highlight of your season. And when you get to that place and you don't get to where you want to go, that there's certain degree of what if that factors in, and that definitely was part of tonight. I mean, the program's come a long way, and there was a time not so long ago that 9-3 and would have been quite the party, and it was like, yeah, it's an accomplishment, but we were really close to what we were wanting to get to, and who knows, maybe they'll still get there. I mean, it's been a crazy. Tulane lost last night. Georgia looks like they're losing. I mean, who knows? Maybe it's the beginning of Ole Miss got tested today by Mississippi State. I mean, maybe it's the beginning of a chaos weekend. We'll see. But it's out of their control at this point.
Tyler, you got a picture with the Egg Bowl trophy from 2012? Did you take one?
Yeah, I got one.
Okay. Where's it at?
I have no idea.
Okay.
On my phone.
Yeah, Lane Kiffin's last 4 years, 10-8, 10-9 wins. There's worse things. I mean, it's
10-8, 11-9. I've been corrected a few times. 11.
Well, I was doing regular season because that's all I have to go on right now.
Yeah. 10-8, 10-9. That's pretty good.
There was one little scrap. There was one potential fight that I was sitting by Neil, and he complimented the referees on getting there because that did have a second there where that could have gotten into a little haymakery.
Yeah, it was Caden Lee and some cat for State. I can't remember who it was. It was about to get rough, and the officials were on top of it. Didn't even throw a flag. They handled it really, really well. I'll be honest. I thought this game was particularly well officiated. I thought they did a good job with it. They were consistent in allowing a lot of contact downfield. They didn't call tons of holding. They called the ones that were just egregious. And for the most part, they just let them play, and it got chippy. They called the one late hit on the number 2 for State when he hit Dart. Yeah, but for the most part, they kind of let the game be the game, and I give them credit. I thought they did a good job.
They let everybody hold their 57, and they were just like, hey, we can't let this go. Hey, we can't let you get away with it. We're gonna let everybody else tonight, but not you.
Well, I mentioned egregious. There were those. I mean, yeah. Yeah. I was looking at both of those with my binoculars, and I went holding.
We're a bit in circles here, so we'll get off this thing in a second. But I guess, Neil, a couple things that we were talking about. So I'll get your quick take, and you're just going to agree with us. I think is they're in a bit of a state of process situation. This thing doesn't go right for them. They're implementing the only plan that might work. I mean, I mentioned it as don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. I mean, this program is in a spot where you do have to look at it big picture, as we just said, 10, 8, 9, 10, whatever the hell it is with that same kind of standpoint. You're on a trajectory of it being around the conversation. Sometimes the damn ball just bounces the other way. I mean, you got some chemistry stuff. I think they coach tight. I think they play tight. It's not like you can't get better. But there is a part of this that Tyler really hit this a lot early in the show. They just went 9-3 with no run game. That's really hard to do, and it means you're doing a lot right because almost any other team I covered, it would have been a catastrophe with that run game. Just would
have. Yeah, that's a great way to put it. I mean, you were able to go 9-3 with really no run game to speak of. That's a hell of an accomplishment. Tells you how good they were on defense. Tells you how much of a damn warrior Jackson Dart is. Because think what you want to think about him, the player, the passer, the whatever. Here's what you cannot question on that kid is the competitor. He's a beast. Yeah, I think that's. I don't know that I can add much to that. And look, I mean, as for concept, I mean, they're going to be a heavy portal program. I don't think that's going to change. Now, what will be interesting is as other programs around the league and around the country look at what Ole Miss has done and go about doing what programs do, which is trying to emulate it. Prices might go up. Competitiveness might go up. Guys, there will be, it will be used against Ole Miss, especially on the offensive side of the ball, that you can go there and it not work out and you don't play at all. And, there will be competition. The portal's going to be super competitive. So, it remains to be seen sort of the evolution of the sport as revenue sharing kicks in and all of those things. But those are things that aren't really predictable. But in terms of utilizing the portal to elevate your program to another level, Ole Miss has done it over the last 3 years in particular. And, here they are. They've won 20 games over the last 2 seasons with heavy portal reliance, and it stands to reason that they'll do it again.
Georgia in the red zone trying to score here. I guess I know you didn't watch it, but just one quick thing here because it did take up a good part of our show, and we'll stop. Basketball falls there in that tight one at Purdue, kind of gives up a second chance points to fall at the end of regulation. They get the win over BYU. This loss isn't hurting them. They did at least show a lot of toughness. Now, look, that rebounding issue is a rebounding issue, and it's why they lost tonight. But I think all in all, probably a pretty good 2 days for Chris Beard's group to kind of see where they are heading into league play here in a few weeks.
Yeah, as you said, I didn't see any of the game tonight, so I can't. I mean, I read the Padula didn't box out on the miss at the end, and Purdue capitalized. And I saw the rebounding number was pretty heavily in Purdue's favor. Ole Miss did out rebound BYU, which is pretty. I thought that will end up being a really good win. This will not end up hurting Ole Miss at all. Zero on if you're looking for a negative from a net standpoint, there won't be one. Hell, it might even help them a little. A win would have been. Yeah, if they'd won, they would have gone up. They'll probably still go up a little bit playing Purdue on a neutral site. But, they did have like an 8-point lead, it looked like late. And if you could have held on to that, really giving yourself some momentum going in. They play Louisville on Tuesday. Louisville lost one of their better players tonight to a lower leg injury. Hopefully it's not severe, but I think the word was it was. Go into league play, and I mean they've positioned themselves where if they can be a 500 or better league team, they're going to make the tournament.
It ball's out, by the way, Chase.
Looks like Georgia has fumbled at the goal line. If that is true, Georgia Tech will take over. 10:09 to go, third quarter, up 17-0 for Brent Key's Yellow Jackets at this point. Ole Miss's win is looking worse by the minute, but I mean it's one step of trying to replace Georgia in this thing. Ole Miss needs Georgia to lose tonight, Texas to beat A&M, and then Texas to beat Georgia. That is the route to get ahead of the Bulldogs.
So there's a real world where Texas A&M wins tomorrow night, Georgia loses tonight, and Georgia and Texas A&M play each other for the right to be the 2 seed in the tournament.
That is correct, yes.
At this point, they probably wouldn't be the 2 seed, though. They'd probably be the 3 seed.
Yeah, that's actually true.
Good point. Good point. So
Is there any world where the SEC champion can be the 5th and not get the bye?
Oh, dude, how about this? What if the SEC champion Boise jumps the SEC champion?
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Neil will be unhinged. Unhinged. Every time
when
group of five, the 3 words, group of 5 come out, Neil will go unhinged.
When you create this system, man, I mean, you let it turn into a nightmare. So
I want it to be complete chaos at this time. Tulane lost, maybe UNLV or Colorado State will sneak one out. I want it to be complete and utter chaos at this point in time. I want like Virginia Tech to backdoor this thing somehow. I don't care. Just let's go chaos.
I'm with you. I'm for all chaos tomorrow. I want total chaos, and not really for Ole Miss's sake, just for the sake of I want the committee to have to like talk in complete circles.
Yes.
On a week from Sunday where you're like, that makes no sense, dude.
Well, Chase talked about, I don't know what show y'all had this week. Chase talked about they've put themselves in a box by that they can't win. At this point in time, they're going to have to go against something that they've said they wasn't going to do at this point. I think it was either Monday or Tuesday, I think, Chase. I don't remember which one. Maybe it was Tuesday.
But it all runs together with me too.
Yeah,
but yes, I mean, that's –
but they've said, like, strength of schedule matters. Oh, it doesn't matter. And at this point in time, something they've put themselves.
It was my favorite quote is they can't help who they play. It's like, well, hell then. Okay. I mean, all right. Sounds good. Let's do that.
SEC.
All right. They kept it there. Georgia does retain. So probably still got a ball game there in Athens. I don't think that's
Georgia just scored.
Okay. So I'm a little behind. Georgia scored now.
Thanks, Jeffrey. I thought Jeffrey was off the show. You just Jeffrey'd me.
Siski doesn't like the jumping ahead that we do with the scores. He likes to see it in real time, 3 minutes behind.
I'm a streamer.
Oh, yes. God, Auburn just scored, Tyler. Touchdown.
Yeah. That might happen.
Might happen. All right, tons of content. I have observations finished. I will get those up literally as soon as we hit the button. I just couldn't do it while I was talking. I want to make sure we got the show started. But, yeah, Georgia, again, 2 straight losses helps Ole Miss. But you need Georgia Tech tonight. You need Texas beating A&M and then Texas beating Georgia. The Longhorns being the 2, Georgia being out would help the Rebels. So if you're looking for some crazy path, that is what that path would be to jump a team and move up in the pecking order. Rebels 26-14. Appreciate it, gentlemen. We'll get on with it here. I'll wrap it up. Neil, thanks for your time. Siski as well, all season long on the MPW Digital Postgame Show presented by Realtree. Again, MPW 15 at Realtree.com for all your outdoor needs, all your hunting needs, hunting season, football, and more there with Realtree. Again, Ole Miss 26, Mississippi State 14. Rebels finished 9-3 on the season. They now await their postseason selection whenever that comes, so we'll see where that's headed. But for now, I am Chase Parham. Take care. Have a good night. Hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving, and we will talk to you very soon.